and welcome to Laugh Your Way to a Better Marriage. I'm so glad you're here. This is the marriage seminar for people who hate marriage seminars. Hoo-ah! All right? I get a kick out of watching the couples when they first come in on Friday nights. You know, the girls, they're all lit up, you know, just, ooh, I got him here, I got him here, I got him here, you know. And the guy's going, oh man, I can't believe, you know, I got here. But it's cool, guys. You can relax. You're going to love it. This is not one of those let's beat up on the men for not being women seminars. Yeah. What I'm talking about. What is it with that anyway? Man, you know, you ask a lot of women to describe their ideal man, and they'll describe another woman. What's up with that? You know? So we're not going to do that. We are going to just go with this thing in a normal, healthy way. We're men. Men are men. We're not sick. We're not perverted. We're not twisted. You know, we're not broken. We're men. All right? And God, yeah, hoo-ah. And God made us the way we are for a reason. And I'm going to show you girls what that reason is. Okay? And I'm going to try and explain to you the world of men a little bit through this thing. We'll also discuss the women's side of things as well. But I really want you to understand this men thing. Women are much more complicated than men. Men are very simple. Simple. S-E-X. Simple. All right? So... That's what I'm talking about, okay? So we're going to have fun. We should have a really, really great time. Now, tonight we're going to do a session called The Tale of Two Brains, hence the two brains. And we're going to be discussing how men and women think very differently from each other. Why is that important? Because men and women are very quick to make into heart problems what are essentially head problems. A woman acts a certain way, a guy feels she doesn't care about him, he says, well, there's something wrong with your heart, you don't care about me. No, 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 it's the way she processes information. The same with a guy. A man thinks in a certain way, and a woman thinks there's something wrong with his heart. No, it's his head, okay? So I'm going to try and explain to you what that's all about. Then tomorrow morning we're going to do a session called, Why Does He Do That? Why does she do that? Okay? See, it's one thing to understand men and women in general. It's another one to understand the one you got stuck with. Okay? So I'm going to show you how you can discover specifically what makes your spouse tick. And it's powerful information that will absolutely revolutionize your relationship. All right? Then we're going to do what I call the Yo Mama session. And it's called the #1 key to incredible sex. And boys, if you miss that, there's just something wrong with you, okay? So you gotta check. And then we're gonna end with how to stay married and not kill anybody, okay? All very deep emotional stuff. Now, now a lot of people say, well, what's your background? What's your deal? Well, my background is that I'm a minister. Now, if you're not much of a churchgoer, don't let that make you nervous. Some of my biggest fans are heathens. All right? And this isn't one of those things where we sneak you in and then beat you over the head with a Bible. All right? But I do have a Bible verse I need to show you, okay? Because I found a Bible verse that if you follow the advice from this one Bible verse, you will never, ever, ever have a problem in marriage. How many think that's worth seeing? All right? You follow the advice from this one verse, you'll never have a problem in marriage. It says it's good for a man not to marry. All right? So, well, why would he say that? That's such a terrible thing to say. Because he goes on to explain, he who marries will have trouble in this life. people come up to me, Pastor Mark, something's wrong, something's wrong. I say, what is it? We got trouble in our marriage. I go, no, that's about right. Hey, there ain't nothing wrong. That's pretty normal. Now, you don't hear these verses read at weddings very often. Kind of downplay that. You don't see those on Hallmark cards. You don't see them on cakes with pretty calligraphy. He who marries will have trouble, but it's too late for you. You say, if that's the case, then why get married? Because marriage is absolutely wonderful. It's great. It's fantastic. But it's not that it's without trouble. All right? And I want to show one other verse to you. Now, you don't have the deep theological training that I have, so you might have a hard time understanding this verse. But I'll try and explain it to you. This is found in Proverbs. And it goes like this. Where no oxen are, the manger is clean. Let me explain that to you, okay? What does that mean? Well, it means if you're going to have an ox, you're going to have ox poo, all right? Now, if you don't like poo, and most of us are not real big fans of poo, if you don't like poo, the temptation is get rid of the ox. Preach it, brother. No. I don't want you to get rid of the ox, all right? So well, why would you keep the ox around? Because he goes to the second half of the verse, it says, because much increase comes by the strength of the ox. Well, now there's the catch-22. On the one hand, we all love the benefit of the ox, but nobody likes the poo. And what he's trying to tell us here is you cannot have one without the other. There is no such thing as a poo-free marriage. It just doesn't exist. Unless you shoot the ox, okay? But that leads to other problems. So this weekend is not about attaining a state of perfection in your life, all right? It's about getting a proper positive to poo ratio in your life. You see, because if all you get is poo, then you got one sick ox. Are you hearing me? All right? So, but there's no such thing as a poo-free marriage. For those of you who are having a hard time grasping this, I have a mathematical version of it. It goes, ox equals poo over positive. Some say positive over poo. But anyway, it's the ratio that we want to get going here, okay? Now, marriage is a wonderful institution. Statistically speaking, we know that married people are healthier than single people. They are actually happier than single people, assuming you're doing this right. Or you can be profoundly unhappy. They actually make more money than single people, and I'll mention a little bit later why that's true. Okay? They have better sex than single people. Now, you don't see that in our culture, in all the movies and shows, it's the single people all having really great sex, and the married people are, someone will say, well, how's your sex life? Are you kidding? I'm married, And it's not true. It's a bunch of baloney. Okay? Married people have great sex compared to single people. Single people don't even know what they're doing, for crying out loud. Okay? And statistically speaking, married people live longer than single people. This is particularly true for men. Statistically speaking, one of the most dangerous things a man can do in America today is remain single. It is the equivalent of smoking 2.5 packets of cigarettes a day. It's true. They found that if you take someone who has 2.5 packs of cigarettes a day and the health problems and the shortness of life and all the difficulties, and a single guy is pretty much the same. I guess the worst would be a single guy who smokes 2.5 packs of cigarettes a day. All right? But marriage is wonderful. It's great. It rocks. I love it, okay? If you do it right. Now, the problem here is so many people don't do it right. And it's not that they don't know, not that they don't want to do it, they don't know what to do. We live in a culture today that seems for somehow in the relationship area to be completely clueless. We seriously don't know what to do. Now, this weekend, what I want to do is show you specific things you can do that will absolutely energize and transform your marriage life. How many think that's worth hearing? Yeah, okay? So, now I want to talk to you about what I call the laws of relational physics. You see, the laws of physics affect everybody, whether you believe them or not. Okay? If I step off this stage, I'm probably, in all likelihood, going to go down. If I start floating around, you might want to freak out and run. But why? Because the laws of physics affect. Well, I don't believe that. It doesn't matter what I believe. I'm going down, right? Doesn't matter if I'm a born-again Christian. Doesn't matter if I'm a heathen. Man, I'm going, because it affects everybody. Well, just like that, there are laws of relational physics, and they affect everybody, whether you believe them or not. Now, this might come as a little bit of a shock to those of you who are church people, especially hearing from a minister. But the truth is, you don't have to be a Christian to have a great marriage. I know a lot of heathens that have wonderful marriages. I know a lot of born-again Christians who have horrible marriages. Why is that? They're breaking all the rules. And they assume somehow that the rules don't apply to them, but they do. Here's an example. If you're driving a car 80 miles an hour around a curve that says only 40, and you keep going 80, chances are you're going to get hurt, even if you're listening to a Christian radio station. Even if you have a statue of Jesus on the, you know, he might be going, ah, you know, but why is that? Because the laws of physics still affect you, but for some miracle, you're going to get hurt. Same true with relational physics. And I want to explain that to you, and we'll take a look at that. Now, this weekend, I'm going to be speaking to you in basic stereotypes. In other words, women generally tend to be a certain way. Men generally tend to be a certain way. But they're not all that way. I get it. Okay? Some of the people that just have a cow. Well, I don't know. That's true for all men. I'm admitting it's not, all right? Just generally speaking, we don't have time to get into all the shades of gray. But generally speaking, men are a certain way, women are a certain way. If I start describing something that's not you, don't have a cow, just interpolate for your relationships. In Debbie's and I relationship, there are areas where we're completely opposite of a typical man and a woman. I remember when I was first studying this stuff, I thought, oh man, I'm a woman. So just interpolate. I will say this, that if you tend to be one way in a certain relationship, your wife generally will be the other way. I don't think I've run across a couple yet. I'm sure they're out there that act the exact same way. You know, so if you break the rules, chances are your spouse is breaking them right with you, and you just flip on this deal. Okay? For example, a typical stereotype: men are more interested in sex than their wives. Why would you say that? Because generally it's true. But it's not always true. There are a lot of relationships where the wife is much more interested in sex than her husband. If you're here tonight and your wife is much more interested in sex than you are, I think I speak for all the men here when I say that we hate you. Please don't tell us who you are. We will hurt you, all right? So just go with the flow. It'll be cool. We'll have a great time discussing this thing about marriage. Now, I believe marriage is a life-giving institution. We live in a culture today that believes marriage is a life-sucking institution. It will suck the life out of you. all right? And that's why we say, make sure you're old enough. Make sure you have enough money. Make sure you have enough education. Make sure you've been dating for 37 years first. Make sure that, you know, get all the stuff. Why? You got to get everything together and ready so that when you say I do, you can withstand the, ah! But it's not that way. It'll give you life if you'll do it right. If you do this right, marriage can be the closest thing to heaven on earth. If you do it wrong, well, you fill in the blanks. Okay? So now, we're going to start discussing men's brains, women's brains, and how they're very different from each other. Now, I want to start with men's brains. All right? Now, men's brains are very unique. Men's brains are made up of little boxes. And we have a box for everything. We've got a box for the car. We've got a box for the money. We've got a box for the job. We've got a box for you. We've got a box for the kids. We've got a box for your mother somewhere in the basement. We got boxes everywhere. And the rule is the boxes don't touch. When a man discusses a particular subject, we go to that particular box, we pull that box out, we open the box, we discuss only what is in that box. All right? And then we close the box and put it away, being very, very careful not to touch any other boxes. Sorry, my Catholic upbringing got in there for a minute, but I'm not a Catholic, but I went to Catholic school when I was little. I had a nun who taught on hell like she was born and raised there. I mean, I'll never forget it, but it did me good, actually. It was a good thing. Now, women's brains are very, very different from men's brains. Women's brains are made up of a big ball of wire. And everything is connected to everything. The money's connected to the car, and the car's connected to your job, and your kids are connected to your mother, and everything's connected to everything. It's like... It's like the internet superhighway. Okay? And it's all driven by energy that we call emotion. It's one of the reasons why women tend to remember everything. Because if you take an event and you connect it to an emotion, it burns in your memory and you can remember it forever. The same thing happens for men. It just doesn't happen very often because, quite frankly, we don't care. Women tend to care about everything. And she just loves it. Okay? Now, men, we have a box in our brain that most women are not aware of. This particular box has nothing in it. It's true. It's true. In fact, we call it the nothing box. And of all the boxes a man has in his brain, the nothing box is our favorite box. If a man has a chance, he'll go to his nothing box every time. That's why a man can do something seemingly completely brain dead for hours on end. You know, like fishing. And we love it. That's why a guy can sit in front of a TV and go. It glows. Of course, this drives our wives nuts because they'll come up and say, "Stop that! You can't possibly be watching anything!" I'm not. Go away. Now, they've actually measured this. The University of Pennsylvania a couple of years ago did a study and discovered that men have the ability to think about absolutely nothing and still breathe. You know, they connected all the wires and stuff like that and watched the brain activity, then all of a sudden, I think he's dead. Huh? You know, women can't do it. They can't do it. Their minds never stop. And they don't understand the nothing box. And it drives them crazy. Because nothing drives a woman more crazy or makes her feel more irritated than to witness a man doing nothing. Now, one of the biggest revelations I get out of women is this whole nothing box issue. They just, everything's starting to make sense. And I've had women say, oh, it's nothing. Well, can I go in his nothing box with him? No! Why not? Because then it's something. Besides, you'll walk in there and go, You know, this place could really use some pictures. Nice little table over here, some flowers. Is it? No! Nothing! Get out! We don't want nothing. Now, this handles the way men and women handle stress. Okay? When a man is stressed out, all he wants to do is run to his nothing box. This is how we unwind. The last thing we want to do when we're stressed out is talk about it. We don't want to talk about it. We just want to. Of course, it just drives her nuts, you know. A woman will see a man in that vegetative state and she'll come up and go, "What you thinking about?" Nothing. We gotta be thinking about something. No, I was thinking about nothing. In fact, I was on a roll till you showed up. go away, all right? Because that's how he handles stress. He just, Now, when a woman is stressed out, she has to talk about it. If she doesn't talk about it, her brain will literally explode. So she'll start just, I don't know, might have something to do with this. Not gonna have to do that. You know, I never thought about this. My brother over here said to me, and I know men who run from their wives when they do this. They do. I say, well, why do you run from her? He says, because I don't know what to tell her. I said, dear God, man, who told you to tell her anything? She wants you to tell her anything. See, a lot of guys, they feel obligated when you start explaining all your stress, they feel obligated to fix you. Right? Because that's what a man does. A man only tells his troubles to another man in hopes that that man will help fix it. Okay? But she's not a man. And you try and fix her, she's gonna kill you. All right? She doesn't want your advice. She doesn't want your help. She wants you to shut up and listen. And a couple of ladies, that's right, you tell him. Tell him to shut up. They like that. Now, I had one guy tell me, he said, man, if she just tell me how she feels. I said, she doesn't know yet. He said, what do you mean? So that's how she figures out how she feels, by connecting this wire to that wire, this wire, and so. Now, because they love each other, they offer to each other their answer, their solution. A man senses his wife is stressed out. He loves the girl. He offers to the girl his best and finest solution. Or just quit talking about it. Just quit thinking about it. Yeah. And that's when she starts reaching for the knives and stuff. She's gonna stab you if you keep it up, okay? Now, a woman, she senses her husband's all stressed out. She loves him. Therefore, she offers to him her best and finest solution. Talk to me. Why won't you talk to me? Go away. He doesn't want to talk to you. Leave him alone. He will not die. He's not a woman. All right? I know you've got to talk it through or you're going to be twisted inside. He's not like that. Leave the boy alone. You tell he's stressed out, just let him go to his nothing box. Just stay away. Stay away. Okay? And it's hard for us to understand that because we think so differently from each other. Now, not only does this affect the way that we respond in stress and stuff, the way our brains are wired also affects the way that we use words. Okay? Men tend to use less words than women. That's because the women have all the wires they're trying to connect, and they've got to explain each and every connection. Now, they say that if a man needs to speak 10,000 words in a day, a woman needs to speak 20,000. My wife says, that's because we got to repeat everything we say. To which I responded, huh? Where is my darling redhead? Is she around? Come up. I want you to meet my wife, Debbie. Come on up here and just... People say, well, doesn't she talk too? Nope. Not to you anyway. She talks to me, but she won't talk to you because she doesn't want to talk to you. That's all. Where's my tablet? I want to show you something about the whole words thing. They actually measured this. They went in and studied children and babies and found out that they actually went and took cameras and put them in nurseries and analyzed the pictures later. And they noticed the pictures of the little girls. Right from the get-go, their mouths are just going. It's true. It's true. And then they analyzed the pictures of little boys, and they're just... They're still thinking, what was that? I want to go back. I don't get it. Okay? Then they went and they recorded conversations of little boys and girls on playgrounds. And they went back and analyzed them. And they discovered that little girls loved to talk. They were very articulate, loved to use full sentences, just loved to talk. And if they didn't have anybody to talk to, they were perfectly content to talk to nobody. And they were just complete sentences. Then they analyzed the conversations of the little boys, and only about 55% of it was intelligible. I couldn't understand what they were saying. You know, just yes. That's conversation to a man. Okay? Now, not only do we use different amounts of words, words can mean different things to men and women. For example, now to most men, 5 minutes means 5 minutes. To a lot of women, it can be an indefinite period of time. Are you ready yet? 5 more minutes! As we discussed, men understand nothing. Women don't understand the significance of nothing. If a woman says nothing, look out, it's something. Oh, dude, man, I don't know what happened. What happened? I don't know. I asked my wife what she was upset about. What'd she say? Well, she said nothing. Get out of the house, man! Run now! Get out! Now, this is not a word, it's a vocalization. It's a sigh. Now, when a man sighs, it means everything is good with life. When a woman sighs, it means you are an idiot. Now, when a man says, go ahead, he's being polite. When a woman says, go ahead, she's giving you the opportunity to explain whatever stupid thing it was you just did. But you need to be very careful in the explanation because it's very likely to be followed by a sigh. Which will lead to an argument over nothing. And then you ain't gonna have sex again for at least 5 minutes. Women's brains come with lots of extra RAM. So they can remember the details of everything. Men's brains come with only the minimum basic requirements to keep us breathing and eating. Okay, that's good. That's why men, a lot of men, we don't hang on to lots of details. They don't stick with us. You know, when an event happens, we just categorize it as an event. All right. Whereas women, it's not just the event, it's all the details connected with an event. You'll run into this when a friend of your family or something will call and you know, she just had a baby. And then you tell your wife, oh, so-and-so's called, they had the baby. And she'll say, well, what was it? And he says, well, it was a baby. Well, what kind of baby? I don't know, it's a baby. What difference does it make? Oh, how long was it? Well, I don't know. You know, how long, how tall, how many, you know, how much did it weigh? I don't know, under 20 pounds. What, you know, just... But there's detail. You know, a woman will come up to a guy and say, how was your day? And then we go to the ram, and all it's there is that it was a day. And we say, it was fine. And she'll say, well, what happened? And we go to the ram, and there's nothing there. And we panic. And we go, nothing. But women, they've got all this, you know, that's why when a guy retells a story, it's usually pretty much just a bottom line kind of thing. What happened? This happened, that happened, we're done. When a lot of women share what happened, they relive the event in excruciatingly painful detail. I mean, you are there. Yeah. And it can drive, you know, couples can really fight over this. My wife and I still fight over this one. You know, this just drives us crazy. You know, she just, sweetheart, when your husband asks the question, what did the plumber say? He really doesn't want to know what he said. Well, I said, how you doing? He said, it's fine. I said, it was a pretty nice day we're having. He said, yeah. He said, got any kids? No, what did he say? Bottom line, you know. Details. Men's brains, women's brains. It also affects not only the words we use and stuff, but also it affects how we listen. You go, yeah. Women listen. But we listen too, we're just different. A lot of women say, you know, men's problems, they got selective listening. You know what that is, right? That's when the wife will say something like, honey, go to the store, lay down the mulch, wash and wax the car, get the kids at school, rent some videos, and finish the rest of the dishes. And then he runs that through his selective filter. And all he hears is, honey, go lay down and get some rest, okay? But that's not what I'm talking about. What I'm really talking about is the difference between single tasking and multitasking. By and large, again, interpolate for your relationships. Again, not everybody's the same way, but by and large, men are single taskers. We do one thing, and we do it pretty well. Women can handle lots of things. Guys aren't wired that way. That's why it's not a good idea to put a man in charge of more than one kid at a time. You know, we can handle the one. Well, sweetheart, you're doing such a good job with Johnny. Wow. Well, where are the rest of the kids? We got other kids? But man, we just I'm a classic single tasker. I'm so bad, I'll be going along and I'll forget the one thing I was doing. I'm completely lost. I need to reboot my brain. Say, whoa, where am I? You know. But men, generally speaking, we do it. Now, what we do very well. One of the reasons that men are so good at what they do is because of this ability to completely focus on just one task. Men usually will rise to the top of any profession, even those dominated sometimes by women. The best hair designers in the world, a lot of times, are men. Best cooks in the world, men. Why is that? Because we have this unique ability to focus on just one thing and do it extremely well. Okay? Women are wired differently. You know, they're just and you know, my wife can be, you know, in the living room, watching TV, reading a book, making knickknacks, and talking on the phone all at the same time. It's just amazing to me. Of course, I'll come in and I'll assume she's not watching TV. Hey! What? I was watching that! How can you be watching that? You're making knickknacks and such. Put it back! You know. Now this affects the way that we listen, because when a man is doing something, he generally cannot hear anything. It's just true. Women are not like that. Women can be doing lots of things and holding 3 different conversations. Just, now, you know, she'll walk into a room and she'll see her husband reading the newspaper, and she assumes, I multitask. Therefore, he must multitask. But he's running the newspaper reading program, and he can only run one program at a time. He's not hearing jack. And this makes women very angry. But you just need to come over and you got to close the newspaper reading program. You got to load the Listen to Me program. But you got to wait a minute. He needs to reboot. I didn't know you was here. You know? You laugh, but I'm serious, girls. If you see a man doing something, unless he's wired differently, do not be giving him vital information. Because this is a train wreck waiting to happen. You'll have this conversation again. When you swear he told you, and he swears you never told him. You know you told him, but in his brain, you never said jack to him. The problem here is, guys, we get ourselves in trouble because men have this natural defense mechanism that at all costs, do not stop doing what you're doing. So when someone starts talking to you, we automatically have this defense mechanism that goes, uh-huh. Yep. Uh-huh. Uh-huh. And we keep doing what we're doing, and we're not, and she thinks you're listening to her. But you're not listening. You need to stop what you're big boys, stop what you're doing, turn to the girl, and pay attention to her. So it's not all on the ladies. You're big boys, when she starts talking, stop! Listen to the girl, and then let him go back to what he was doing. Sounds fair, right? Well, I started doing this, and I thought, this is great. I'm doing a lot better. I'm watching the single tasking. Yeah, okay, what? And then I'll say, I didn't hear that. And I'll make her back up, and she'll tell me the info, and I got it. Okay. And I thought I was doing a lot better, but still I was getting myself in trouble. You know, she'd walk up and say, it's 6 o'clock, are you ready? For what? You know, that happened to half you guys tonight, right? We're doing what? I told you. No, you didn't. Yes, I did. And off to the races we would go. And I thought, man, what in the world? Because I'm watching this single tasking. I don't remember her saying anything about it. And I thought I was losing my hearing. So I went to a doctor. True story. I went to the doctor. I went to the doctor and I walked in. He said, how you doing? I said, I'm okay. He said, what seems to be the problem? I said, well, I think I'm losing my hearing. And he says, well, you know, you're getting up there in age, you know. Ears are one of the first things to go. And I said, well, that's one of the first. I can handle that. We'll talk more about that tomorrow. But, so I said, well, go over to Nurse Cratchit. She'll test your ears, you know. And so I follow the lady, and I walk into this room, and they got this cheap box on a table with some real chintzy headphones. And she says, all right, now, put on the headphones. When you hear the beep, raise your hand. If you don't hear the beep, don't raise your hand. Apparently, I look really stupid. So anyway, I turned around and we began. As, pretty soon she goes, really, you can hear all that? And I turned around and said, yeah, why? She's hitting the box. I don't know, piece of junk. What's the matter with this thing? So what's the problem? She said, according to this, you can hear what cats and dogs can hear. I don't know what to... She's hitting the box. She says, I'm going to send you to a specialist. You ever been to the specialist? You know, they got this Yo Mama soundproof room, you know, the thick door, you know. You know, you got the person, you know, sitting behind the glass, you know. You feel like you're in a people aquarium. Sir, would you sit down? But anyway, so at the time we lived in Green Bay, Wisconsin, and right downtown Green Bay, there was a place called Eye and Ear Associates. I'd never heard of them before. I had no reason to hear from them. But she said, I'm going to send you these people. They have all this fancy equipment. And so she takes the doctor's pad and she writes Eye, Ear, and she abbreviates Associates and hands it to me. I said, what kind of doctor is this? It's a true story. She says, what do you mean? I said, I heard of eye, ear, and throat. I never heard of this. She said, let me see that. Oh, I'm so embarrassed. So she wrote out Associates. I went, oh, okay. Thought I was going to be in for a very uncomfortable test there for a minute. So I go to the eye, ear, and, you know, doctor, and I get in there, and I sit down, and she's behind the glass, and she has to push the button to talk. You know, okay, now put on the headphones. When you hear the beep, spin around, and we began. I kid you not, she goes, really, you can hear all that? I felt like a moron, all right? I take the printout to the specialist. He goes, what are you doing here? You got better ears than me. I said, I don't know, man. She says, you know, are you ready at 6 o'clock? I just want to go get it. So I go home and I walk in the door and she says, well, what the doctors say. She doesn't sound like that, by the way. I say that because people used to come up to me saying, you know, she doesn't have a voice like that. I just do it for effect. By the way, we've been married for 32 years. We have 2 grandsons. Very cool. Beautiful boys. One's 10 months old, the other one's 8, and they are just such a delight. I love grandchildren because now it's payback. Come here, come here. You want some more sugar? There you go. Okay, bye! You know. My son Philip's here with us. He's running the audio, and on our 30th wedding anniversary, Phil gives me a call up and he says, "Hey, Dad, 30 years. That's really something." I said, "Well, thank you, sir." I said, "But you know, truthfully, Phil," I said, "it only feels like 10 minutes. He goes, "Really?" I said, "Yeah, 10 minutes underwater." Oh, lighten up. All the girls, "Oh, I can't believe he said that. What is she going to think?" It's just the joke box, all right? Just the joke. So I come back from my ear thing. She said, "Well, what they say?" I said, "Well, they said I can hear what cats and dogs can hear." She says, "Well, it's not your problem. Your problem is just don't pay attention." And I thought, but I've been paying attention. I was watching the single tasking thing, and so I thought, I'm going to do a test. I want to see how far she gets away before I can't hear her. So the next day we're sitting in the kitchen, and she comes up, and she's talking to me, la, 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 and I go, uh-huh. And then she walks a little bit further away. She says, la, 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 la. I go, okay, I can hear that. And she goes a little further away, la, 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 just doing multitasking thing. Then she goes into the living room, la, 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 la. And now she goes into another room. She's now on the other side of the house, still talking to me. I said, "Hey!" She yells back, "What?" I said, "I'm on the other side of the house." She goes, "You don't listen anyway." The next day, I caught her. This time she goes upstairs. She's on another floor, still giving me vital information. That's when it started dawning on me. Wait a minute. We might single task, but these women so multitask, they just keep doing what they're doing, and whether or not you're in the same area code is irrelevant. 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 That's the word. I had a guy the other day says, "You know, my wife's like that. She'll be talking to me. She's by the dryer, and she'll be telling me something important. La 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 la. Then she'll stick her head in the dryer, reach for something. La 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 la. And boy, you better do that, or you're gonna be in big trouble." She still does that to me. We'll be like a real busy highway, just all kinds of noise, and she'll be talking. "You know something that's really important? So you better be careful about it." What? I didn't hear what you said. Laws of physics, girls, it applies to you. It would help if your husband was in the same area code. Okay. Now, I first shared this story at a men's conference that I was speaking at, and I thought it was just a funny story that had happened to me. But as I'm sharing it, all these men's heads are going. I had one guy come up to me afterwards. He says, "You know, Pastor, I'll be in the bathroom. The door is closed. The fan is on. There's tile everywhere, so sound just bounces around in there. I'm standing there. All I can hear is the sound of rushing water. know, I figured out that's why we miss sometimes, girls. What? What? Another mystery solved. Girls, don't be so multitasking that you're doing a gazillion things, giving him vital information. All right? And especially if he's doing something. I'm telling you, this simple thing that I'm talking to you creates more arguments and more frustrations in marriages, and we're fighting over nothing. But you know you're really married to a multitasker when during a moment of intimate passion, she suddenly blurts out, "Oh, by the way, the plumber says the toilets are broken." Focus, woman, focus! But man, she can make love to you and plan next week's dinners and, think about the toilets. Oh, it's all the same to her. I need my tablet back up here. I want to show you something. In no other area, men's brains and women's brains, do men and women think more differently than in this area of sex. And we'll get into it in a lot more detail tomorrow. But I want to show you something here that I think will be of great interest to you. Give my lovely assistant a hand. Now, sex is a pretty big issue, particularly for men. For us, our sexual interest peaks at about age 18. And then goes down from there. So if you were to chart it out, it would look like something like this. It peaks at about age 18 and then goes down. And then you're dead. Now, something's important for women to understand. When it comes to this area, we're no longer driven so much by our brains or by our hearts, but it's by a chemical. It's called testosterone. And it runs through our blood. It runs through our blood, and it drives us crazy. You just... If you girls knew how much this drove us crazy, you'd be more disgusted with us than you are right now. We downplay it, man. And this, I'm telling you, and as funny as this little chart is, and as true as it is for so many men, if for some reason as a man ages, his testosterone levels begin to decline, his interest in sex will start to decline. And if his testosterone level drops dramatically, his interest will go way down. Same head, same heart, same guy, and now he's not interested in sex. You treat that man, and it's very easy to do, with testosterone supplements, and boom, he's the same wild man you married. Same head, same heart, same guy, now he's... Come here, baby. All right? So this is not because we're sickos, it's not because we're perverts, it's not because we're broken. God wired us this way, and he did it on purpose. Well, what was that purpose? I'm going to show you in a minute, but you just need to really understand this. And the truth is, when we get this rush of testosterone, it just messes with us. Now, for the love of God, don't raise your hands. But most men will admit that we usually receive a testosterone rush, usually very early in the morning, and for no reason at all. Dun 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 dun. 10 hot. And it just wakes us up, just we're not thinking about anything. All right? And that's usually when a man reaches over and whispers those 3 words every woman loves to hear. Hey, you awake? We'll be talking more about that tomorrow, okay? All right, so why does God wire men this way? Okay, now to explain this, I need to do an anatomy lesson. Okay, y'all okay? Hang on, Margaret, he's gonna draw pictures. It'll be okay. We'll keep it clean, okay? Now, we'll call this the girl's heart. And in the interest of keeping everything at least PG-13, we will refer to this as the place of happiness. I had a lady come up to me recently and she goes, "Man, I can't even go to Walmart anymore. Smiley faces all over the place." She's like, Now, at some fundamental level, this is every man's basic interest in a woman. It's true, it's true. Now women say, well, that's terrible. That shouldn't be about that. It should be about companionship and fellowship and sharing. Girls, if your husband was interested in companionship, fellowship, and sharing, he'd have gotten a golden retriever. He's interested in this, and he's supposed to be. That's the way God wired men. But what men fail to understand is the key to this is this. And if a man successfully touches this, she gives him the green light, and now he can touch this. So this sex drive, guys, is God's way of constantly reminding a man, and it keeps coming back. It never stops, you know, just. On average, a man will feel the need for sexual release on about every 72 hours. That's every 3 days. Some more, some less. My husband's every 72 minutes. But that's your problem. But anyway. But seriously, the reason that keeps coming back is to motivate the man, be nice to the girl. It's not so you can just go, hey, you awake? Are you hearing me? A lot of guys do that. As soon as they feel the buzz, they're just reaching for the girl. Come here, baby. Come here. Come here. Don't be a moron. She won't want to come here. The reason that buzz hits you again, remember, be nice to the girl. 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 I gotta be nice to the girl. And this is what motivates me. I try to be nice to my wife. And I spend time with her, and I take her to lunch every day, and I'll take her shopping. And well, Pastor Mark, do you like going shopping? No, I hate it. You know, she drops me off at the bench with all the old guys, and I sleep with them. You know. Then she comes, picks me up, drops me off at another bench. You say, well, if you don't like it, then why do you do it? I'll tell you why. Because I want some of this. I'm no idiot. You got to be nice to the girl. You got to pay attention to the girl. And really, single women. I don't know, you know, how many single women are watching this, but inevitably there's single women here, and that's great. And a lot will be watching this. But, you know, when a woman gives a man this before marriage, she is a nitwit of astronomical proportions. You would never build a house and pay the contractor in advance. Are you hearing me? If you're going to build a $250,000 house, and which here in Phoenix will get you a one bedroom with nothing. Man, I got a huge condo on a lake in Wisconsin for $250, man. I'm telling you, here you got nothing. But anyway, you wouldn't pay the guy in advance and give him, here's the 250 grand. Do you know why? The house will never get done on time. He'll never do what he's promised to do. Why? Because it's just the nature of human beings. You pay them as they hit certain marks, certain things they accomplish, you finish it, you give them some more, and then you wait till everything's right, and then you close. Why? Because that's the way people are wired. If you were just to give it to them, you would be a nitwit, a moron. That's what women are doing today. They're coughing this up front, which is every man's basic fundamental interest in a woman. You've already given him everything he wants. And then they sit around and say, well, aren't you going to marry me? Aren't you going to spend more time with me? Aren't you going to... No, he's not. They go, why won't? Because you're an idiot. That's why. Don't do that. Give him that thing. You make that boy earn it. If there ain't no ring, you ain't getting the thing, is what you need to tell him. No, seriously, girl, I don't know what. There's something that really happened in the female culture. I think it's because of the women's lib thing, and they think, well, now we can go out and we can be as sexual as men and stuff like that. But they are fighting against their own interests. There are millions of women in America today that are so frustrated they can never get this. They can never get this. You know why? Because they're dumb. I'm serious. I don't mean it in a mean way, but they're doing a dumb thing, like just coughing this up to every guy that comes along. Thinking this, it doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way. Now, every woman's basic interest in a man is this. What a lot of women fail to recognize is the key to this is this. And if you touch that, he gives you the green light, and you can touch this. So, but I thought you said women weren't supposed to do that. Outside of marriage, inside of marriage, you got to work it this way. Outside of marriage, you defeat yourself. But inside of marriage, you have to realize this is a very important deal. It is. It's huge. A lot of women treat this like like a side issue. It is not a side issue in marriage. It is the central issue. It truly is. And I'm going to really explain this in greater detail tomorrow. You get this right, things will flow a lot better in your life. You try and discard this, it shouldn't be about that. He shouldn't be interested in sex. No, he's just a pig. You are fighting now against your own interest doing it that way. You've got to be smart about this, girls. The key to this boy's heart, you know, they used to say when I was growing up that the key to a man's heart was his stomach, but they were about 6 inches too high. And this is important. I got to tell you, girls, if it weren't for this, we probably really wouldn't deal with y'all. I know that sounds terrible, but I'm just telling you like it is. You know, you take that out, man, I don't think we'd go through the trouble, honestly. This is a game you got to let him know he can win with you. And we'll talk more about this in detail tomorrow. But the crazy thing about it, see, is the key to what you want, here's the door. And for the guys, for what you want, here's the door. And it is the perfect standoff. It is the ultimate standoff. People say, what was God thinking? People say it to me all the time. What was God? This is exactly what God was thinking. The key to you getting what you want is to give your spouse what they want. Now, it's not easy. And sometimes you'll mess up, but you got to constantly work for this. You can't all of a sudden disregard this. Some guys, they never pay attention to the girl. They're never nice to the girl. And wonder how come they never get any sex. Oh, I never get any sex. How come? Because you're an idiot. I mean, for crying out loud, be nice to the girl. You've got to touch her heart. That's your key. But a lot of guys say, well, I told you I loved you once. If anything changes, I'll let you know. I wonder how come I'm not getting any sex. Well, because you're just blowing it. You're blowing it. And girls, same thing with you. The key to this is this area here. Don't dismiss this. If you guys will flow in this thing, it works and it's great and it's extremely powerful. It is the most powerful thing God ever designed to connect two people. And we'll get into it in a lot more detail tomorrow. Thank you. All right. Men's brains, women's brains. Women's brains think give. They just love to give. They're happiest when they're giving. You get a bunch of women together and they're all giving to each other. Oh, I love your hair. I love your shoes. I love your outfit. They just love it. Now, men's brains are a little different. Men's brains think take. And you get a bunch of men together and we insult each other. We do. You're fat. You're ugly. You smell. Thanks, man. That's... So if women love to give and men love to take, which way do you suppose the give and take goes in most relationships? That way. Women think the answer is to give more. If they give more, it will inspire him to give back. Ain't gonna happen. All right? You've got to learn, girls, that if you're going to be truly happy, you're going to have to learn how to take in your relationship. And women are fundamentally very uncomfortable in taking in their relationships. They just love to give. But you'll give yourselves to death. A lot of you just burn yourselves out. It's not unusual to have a woman and her husband come into my office and, she's been married, they've been married for 25 years, and she says, I've given to that man. I have nothing left to give. You ever hear a woman say that? I have nothing left to give. They're burnt because they've just given so much. Then you look at the husband and he goes, I thought we had a good marriage. Because it's been great for him. She's given, he's taken, this rocks. All right? So now, girls, I'm going to show you how you can take advantage and change that flow in your relationships. I'm going to show you how you can get a man to do what you want him to do. All right? Now, when I first say that, all the girls go, yes. And all the boys go, you sold me out, man. You sold. But be cool, because the guys like this part. It's the women who hate it. I get more static from women over what I'm about to tell you because fundamentally they hate taking in relationships. They think that he should just, just give on his own. He should just give. They're hoping, when I say get a guy to give to them, they're hoping I'll say, bad guy, bad, bad, bad. You need to give more. And that's what a lot of these people do in some of these seminars. They beat up on guys. You need to be more. No, the real key, I think we've established it doesn't work, okay? The real key is to change the woman's perspective and empower you because you, in fact, have the power to change this. But a lot of women have been so affected by over-romanticized concepts in marriage that they don't understand this. They really think that if he really loved me, this would all just happen automatically. If he really cared about me, la 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 la. A lot of women really struggle with this concept because they tend to live in this false romantic fantasy land. Girls, you can either sit around with your hearts broken all the time, or you can do something about it. And I'm going to show you what you can do. 4 simple steps, how you can change this dynamic of give and take in your relationships. Okay, y'all ready? Here we go. Number 1, how to get a man to do what you want him to do. Number 1, you need to ask him more than once. Asking a man to do something once is like never having asked him to do it at all. Why is that? Men are always in such a take mode. We're constantly take. We compete taking. We're in business taking. We're just take. We're just in this take mode. And all of a sudden, his wife will say to him, honey, will you do such and such for me? And his left brain says to his right brain, you hear something. His right brain goes, nope. It takes more than once to get through to the boy. Now, a lot of women, they think that, that their husband, they're holding out on him. That we are sitting there intentionally not doing what he asked us to do. Just because we're full of hate. But I promise you, when you asked it, it went in one ear, spun around his nothing box, and shot out the other one. And he's don't remember jack about what you said. Now, when I was first studying this, I thought, this can't possibly be true. This has got to be inaccurate, because I'm married to a woman who has no problem asking me more than once. She said, honey, will you do such and such for me? I go, no. Come on, sweetheart, do this for me. No. Come on. She's got the thing, she pats my cheeks. You're such a good husband. Do this thing for me. Okay, and then I do it. So when I was first reading this, they were saying women only like to ask one time. I thought that can't possibly be true. And I remember I was in a church in Green Bay, Wisconsin at the time. I was one of several pastors at a large church there. And before service started, I thought, I'm going to ask some ladies because this can't possibly be right. So I quick came up to a lady. I said, let me ask you a question. She said, yeah. I said, do you have a hard time getting your husband to do stuff for you? She goes, Pastor, you have no idea. She says, I asked that man to paint the ceiling. That was back in October. It's March. He doesn't do it. He walks in every day. I mean, she's just getting mad telling me about it, okay? And I said, okay. I get it. But let me ask you a question. Because remember, I want to prove what I just been reading wrong. I said, let me ask you a question. How many times did you ask him to do it? And she stared at me like a dog at a new dish. She said, once. I was stunned. I says, why wouldn't you ask him more than once? She says, I shouldn't have to. I said, you might want to try that. I got away from her. Went to another woman. I said, come here. And she says, what? I said, let me ask you a question. Do you have a hard time getting your husband to do stuff for you? She says, Pastor, you have no idea. She says, I will ask my husband, honey, put away the laundry, and I'll stick it right in the middle of the living room. And he didn't do it. He just walks right over the top of it. He just walks around it. It'll sit there for a month. And she asked me with all seriousness, she said, Pastor, can't men see laundry? I said, yeah, we can see it. Just doesn't mean a whole lot to us. So she's just getting angry, just tell me about it. So I said, okay, yeah, I get it. But let me ask you a question. How many times did you ask him to do it? And that same startled look. Once. I was amazed. I said, once? Why wouldn't you ask more than once? I shouldn't have to. Time was running out, church was going to start, and I grabbed another lady real quick. I said, come here. She says, what? She said, do you have a hard time getting your husband to do stuff for you? She says, Pastor, you have no... Apparently I'm a complete idiot because I have no ideas. But, yeah, no idea. And she goes on to start living out the horrible transgressions of her idiot husband. And I asked the same question, okay. But how many times did you ask him to do it? Once. I said, why? Why wouldn't you ask more than once? She said, I shouldn't have to. Ladies, are you listening to me? You have to. To just get mad and madder and having a cow over nothing. He doesn't even remember what you said. You're thinking about it. But then I learned something. The reason women find this so offensive is because really, they don't want to ask the first time. It's true, you little sinners. Because over the rainbow, if he really loved me, I wouldn't have to ask. Well, come on. Just ask him again. Ask him again. What's the big crime here? You know what it is you resent the fact that he's resistant to do it, because not only do you want him to do it, you want him to want to do it. You do. Well, I got news for you. We don't want to do it. We're never going to want to do it. If we wanted to do it, we'd have done it already. What do you care about the internal motivations of his heart? Stop. So he does it. I finally do something my wife wants me to do. And I don't want to do it. I said, I don't do it. And she just... because she's getting something out of me. What's with this? Always analyzing the internal motivations of the guy's heart. I mean, getting yourself all kinds of trouble. I was in Germany some months ago doing some seminars for the troops who were rotating out of Iraq with the army. This one lady tells me, she says, you know what? She says, my husband, if there are dirty dishes in the sink, he cleans them and puts them away. I go, yes, and? She said, well, I asked him, why do you do that? And he said, because I hate dirty dishes. And she started crying. I said, lady, most women think they died and went to heaven if their husbands. Yeah, but I wanted him to say, well, I do it because I love you. Who cares why he does it? Seriously, you've got to let up on this stuff. Leave him alone. Who cares what his motivations are, what his desires? I'll tell you what most men's desires are, is to do nothing. Okay, have we established that? So get him doing stuff for you. Who cares why he wants to do it in his heart? Number 2. You need to ask him the right way. Now, what does that mean? That means don't insult the boy. A lot of women think they can use insult as a way to motivate a man. Like, what are they smoking? What is... not gonna work. What's the matter with you? You some kind of idiot. What's the matter with you, a man? Can't you do... What's the matter with you? Can't you pick up the laundry? No, I can't. Don't insult. Do you know why women do that? Because it would work on them. If you insulted a woman, if you embarrassed a woman, she would change. She would do something about it. But you embarrass a guy, you insult a guy, we don't care. We just become more resistant. He's not a woman, okay? Don't insult the boy. Insult is not a motivator for a man, all right? Number 3, you need to train him with positive reinforcement. What does that mean? Well, training a man is kind of like training a chimpanzee. If the chimp does what you want, you give him a reward. If the chimp doesn't do what you want, you just don't give him the reward. You don't beat the snot out of the monkey. Because then you got a freaked out ape. Every time you come around, he'll just, he'll run away from you. So, well, how does a woman reward a man? Very simply, by appreciating the pathetic things he does. Because men love to be appreciated. And the problem here is that women only like to appreciate unexpected kindness. If it's unexpected, they light up. Oh, oh, oh. But if it's expected, it's like, ah. You know, seriously, I mean, that's, in the beginning of your relationship, that's how he got you to fall in love with you in the first place. See, because unexpected, everything he did was, oh, oh, God, seriously, man, that's how you got her to fall in love with you. She knows you're ugly. How do you think you got such a beautiful woman like that? Because you were nice to her and everything was, oh, 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 oh. But after 32 years, it's hard to come up with unexpected, man, I'm telling you. But the more you appreciate the kindnesses that he does, the more he wants to do it. Men respond. Men, I'm telling you, they love to be appreciated. Now, give you an example. I was at home, and I had a dirty dish in my hand. I was by myself, and I'd actually gotten trained to the point I could put it away in a dishwasher. And I went up to the dishwasher, and I opened it up, but it was full of clean dishes. And that's a moral dilemma to a man. So it finally dawns on my little brain, empty the dishwasher. So without being asked, I empty the dishwasher and I put everything away. And then, of course, I stick around because I want to see what happens. Why? Because I love to be appreciated. So my wife comes home. She's la, 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 la. She goes over to the dishwasher and goes, "Ha! You emptied the dishes." And she goes, "You're such a good husband." and I eat it up. Now, guys, get a clue here. I know it's hard, but she loves unexpected kindness. You need to learn to give her unexpected things, unexpected little things. That's how you can keep a woman crazy in love with you in that way. I told my guys I want to write a book, 365 unexpected things a man can do for a woman. And I thought about it and I went, 52 unexpected things. You're gonna do that every day, you know what? What was I thinking? You know. Because they light up. They light up. You know, some time ago when I was first doing this, I couldn't afford to take my wife with me, and so I was doing a lot of traveling by myself. And I was at a grocery store or gas station. I was paying for the gas, and I saw one of these rack of greeting cards, and this one caught my eye. It said, "My favorite place to be is wherever you are." And I thought, oh, I should get that. How much is that? Do you hear these women? The minute I did, oh, you ruined it! You just ruined it! What was the motive of your heart? You know. I just wanted to see how much it was, that's all. There's something wrong with y'all. Anyway, so $1.50, I went, okay, $1.50, I can do that. So I paid $1.50 and I signed it, I took it home and I put it in the kitchen. I want to stick around and see what happens. And she eventually comes in and la 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 la, and all of a sudden she goes, ah, a card. And she opens it up and it says, "My favorite place to be is wherever you are." I got to tell you, boys, it was the best $50 I ever spent in my life. But we'll talk more about that tomorrow. Okay, now. Number 4, barter with him. Now, how does that work? Very simply, you become aware of something he wants to do. You know you got something you want him to do for you. And you just say to him, "Honey, would you like to do this thing you would like to do?" Yeah. "Well, do this for me, and you can do that." What's the catch? There's no catch. So now he's doing it. It's a trade out. It's just, you know, so guys like this thing because we know what the rules are. And men are used to bartering. You know, that's why we do what we do in life. That's why we go out and work. I got to promise you, if they didn't pay us, we probably wouldn't do it. You know, I don't care how much you like your job. If they didn't give you the cash, I don't think you'd do the job. It's all part of the bartering system. Men like that. Okay? Now, the strongest bartering tool a woman has, we'll talk about tomorrow.
Oh, that's terrible.
I had one lady say to me,
Doesn't that make me a prostitute?
I said, he's your husband, for crying out loud. Women have no idea the power they held over us. Just, they have no idea. I'm telling you, you can get a guy to do almost anything. You just come up to that boy and find something disgusting like cleaning the garage and say,
Hey, baby. How'd you like that?
Why, yes, I would.
Well, I'll tell you what. You go clean the garage and then come and find me.
Man, you got yourself a motivated boy. I was listening to Dr. John Gray talk along these lines. He's the guy who wrote that book, Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus. Really a brilliant guy. And he was telling the story of how his wife came up to him and said, John, take me to the opera. And he said, I don't go to the opera. Hate stupid opera. Dress up like a penguin and go out there. And right there, a lot of you girls would have just went, I think I'll eat worms and die. She didn't. She knew about this stuff. She just asked him again later.
Hey, John.
Yeah?
Take me to the opera.
No.
John.
Yeah?
Take me to the opera.
Okay. So now she's a happy girl. Now he's all dressed up like a penguin, taking her to the opera, and right there a lot of you girls would go, where's my stupid husband to take me to the opera? You got such a... seriously, a lot of you girls, you envy other women's husbands because they're always doing things, but you don't understand. Women who get their husbands doing this stuff know exactly what I'm talking about. They do this all the time. You sit out with your heart broken because you won't do these things. You think he should just cosmically do them on his own. I mean...
Somewhere for the rainbow.
So he takes her to the opera, endures this mind-numbing experience. On the way home, she's holding his hand, just lit up. And he says, when we got home, I pulled into the garage. As soon as the garage door closed, she reached over and grabbed me and made love to me right in the car in the garage. I assume they weren't driving a subcompact. You figure it out. Anyway. So anyway, the next morning he gets up early and yeah, I was wondering, how much are season tickets to the opera? Men's brains, women's brains. Women's brains, they don't think very highly of themselves.
I'm too fat. I'm too tall. I'm too oily. La, 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 la.
Now, men's brains, we think very highly of ourselves. We love us. Just ask, we'll tell you. All you got to do is point a camera at a bunch of women and watch them freak.
Oh, oh, turn it off. Turn it off.
Sanctuary! I'm a hideous monster! Point a camera at a bunch of guys, what do you get? You ever watch a woman walk by a bunch of mirrors in a mall? You ever watch a guy? Still got it. A lot of women, they can be such a drag because their husbands try to be nice to them and compliment them and be, nah, don't say that, nah, I'm ugly, nah. And then, you know, why do you do that? Here's a secret. You want him to like you. Why are you pushing him away? And it's, you know, that's such a drag. Ladies, do you know there are 3 billion women in the world who don't look like supermodels and only 8 who do? Are you seeing a pattern there? Do you know Marilyn Monroe wore a size 14? Not too many guys going, oh, I don't know, she's a little chubby, I think, for me. Did you know if Barbie were a real woman, she'd have to walk on all 4s? Explain it to her later, okay? I don't understand. Okay. Do you know the models in magazines, they're airbrushed? Do you know what that means? That means even those women don't look like those women. You're constantly staring at these pictures, comparing yourself to these perfect women. Man, I'd get depressed too. Man, my wife would buy one of those women's magazines. They're like this thick. It's like an encyclopedia. 98% of it are just ads. Pictures of other women. Beautiful, gorgeous, airbrushed women. Good night. Do you know 1 out of every 4 college-age white girls has an eating disorder? Can I be politically incorrect here? You know who really has a problem in this area? You white women. It's a documented fact. Women of color generally don't have this problem. You ever see Hispanic women? They walk around like they own the world. Black women, they care of themselves. What are you looking at? Typical white woman. I mean, come on. I was watching this movie with Steve Martin and Queen Latifah. You seen this movie? She's like the hot babe in this movie. She's a healthy girl, Jack. She's all over the place. But you know what? She came across as very sexy in that movie. You know why? Girls, men are not looking for perfect women. You know what's attractive to a man? A confident woman. When women carry themselves in a confident way like that, it's very attractive to a man. And you just be who you are. Just carry yourself with confidence. So you're not perfect. So what? Nobody's perfect. Even the perfect women aren't perfect. Now tomorrow, I'm going to be sharing with you when we do our little talk about sex. I'm going to be reading from one of the most amazing books. It's one of the most ancient books about sex. And it's in the Bible. It's called the Song of Songs, or the Song of Solomon. And it's a very sexual book. A lot of people miss it because they're very poetic. They talk about pomegranates and bloom and secret gardens. And people go, man, people sure are into gardening. What's the deal here? You know, just... No, it's not gardening, okay? It's about sex. We're going to look at that tomorrow. But tonight, I want to just take a quick look at halfway through this book. He describes this woman that he's absolutely crazy about. I want you to see his description of her. He says this. He says, how beautiful your sandaled feet, O prince's daughter. So apparently she had great feet. Your graceful legs are like jewels, the work of a craftsman's hand. So she had great feet, great legs. Your navel is a rounded goblet. So she's got great feet, great legs, but she's got an outie. Your waist is a mound of wheat. So she's got great feet, great legs, outie, and a potbelly thing happening. Your two little itty bitty breasts are like two little itty bitty fawns. So she's got great feet, great legs, outie, pot belly, and little boobs. Your neck is like an ivory tower. So she's got great feet, great legs, outie, pot belly, little boobs, and a big neck. Your nose is like the Tower of Lebanon. In fact, I think they can see it from Lebanon. So she's got great feet, great legs, outie, pot belly, little boobs, big neck, and a huge snaz. What does he say about her? He goes, oh, how beautiful you are. And how pleasing, O love, with your delights. He was crazy about this woman. Men's brains, women's brains. Give, 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 take, 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 give, 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 take, 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 give, 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 take, take, take. By the way, on this area of give and take, a lot of women have really been, and I'm speaking particularly Christian organizations and Christian women's clubs. You know, they have these Christian women's retreats and stuff. I call them estrogen fests. And they're wonderful. They're great if you're a woman, I guess. But You know, a lot of you, I know what they're trying to say, but a lot of you have really gotten bad information, or at least faulty information. This is what's being said in a lot of these. What they're saying is unconditional love demands an unconditional relationship. Unconditional love demands an unconditional relationship. You should do anything for this man. You should just put out for this man. If he wants sex, no matter what, just give it to him. Just la 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 la. It all sounds spiritual and it all sounds wonderful. The only problem is it is patently false. Unconditional love demands a conditional relationship. The Bible is nothing if it is not a one big gigantic list of conditions. Are you hearing me? Well, doesn't God just love everybody? Yeah. Whosoever, God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten son, that what? Whosoever believes. Conditional. You actually have to do something. Yes. You want God to get close to you? You know what the Bible says? What do you have to do? You have, conditions. You have, the whole thing is unconditional, I'm sorry, an unconditional relationship will destroy your marriage. It will destroy any relationship. An unconditional relationship with a child will create a hellion. An unconditional relationship with a teenager, he'll destroy himself and take everybody he can with him. It is not healthy, it is not good, it is not holy, it sounds right, but it is not right. You girls need to get comfortable with this idea of taking in your relationships. Putting some conditions. Now, the stronger the relationship, the stronger the conditions can be. You need to be careful. All right? And I know I'm putting a lot of weight on the girls tonight. I'll beat up on the guys tomorrow. But, you know, the stronger the relationship, the stronger the condition. You got to be careful. It's kind of like, you know, if I play hide and seek with my grandsons, you know, you hide behind something, you know, that they can still see you. All right, come and find me. And they'll, you know, you know, you don't play hide and seek with a 2-year-old and run into the basement and hide under boxes. Because he won't get it. He just, you know, so you got to watch the conditions. In a healthy relationship, you can have higher and stronger conditions. But you're not going to get there if you just never require something out of the guy. Okay? And some guys, you know, they don't like any condition. But guys, this is healthy. It's not right for her to constantly be giving to you and never getting anything back. And girls, you can change it, but you got to get comfortable. This is healthy for your relationships to take back. Most guys don't mind you taking back. What we get frustrated with is you expecting us to be like you. And we're just going to do this cosmically like you. We're going to somehow interpret your internal feelings. And we don't do that well. Okay? But you've got to, this is a healthy thing for you. I had a lady at a conference just a few weeks ago. She's crying her eyes out. And I said, what's the matter? She says, my husband, he'll never talk to me. I says, never, he never. If he would just talk to me just for a little bit, I'd feel so much better. And she just cried. I said, how's your love life? Oh, it's okay. I said, let me see if I get this. A man who never talks to you, when he wants sex, you just give it to him. Yeah. I said, well, why do you do that? Well, because I'm supposed to. That's what we're told. I said, sweetheart, you've gotten bad information. Well, doesn't the Bible say we shouldn't deny each other? Of course. But denial doesn't mean, or acceptance doesn't mean you can't have conditions. Here's an example. If you're trying to get a mortgage for your home and the bank calls you up and says, hey, you have been accepted. We have approved your loan. You just need to come sign some papers. And they hang up. Have you been rejected or accepted? You've just been accepted, man. You're excited. Cool, cool, cool. But you have to go do what? Sign some papers. You don't go, stupid bank. They were going to give me that money, but I got to sign papers. I mean, come on. I said, the next time your husband wants to make love to you, you say, honey, I will knock your socks off. But we're going to talk for 5 minutes first. That's fine. That's healthy. You can do that? Yeah, you can do that. And most guys don't mind. You know, again, get us in that position. Start taking back from us. But again, you got to be careful. You got to be careful. If your relationship's real weak, you can't be demanding real heavy things. The stronger the relationship, the tougher you can be. Here's an example. My wife, we have a very good relationship. All summer long, she's been telling me to kill the spiders in the house and in the garage and the outside around the house. We live near water, and spiders love water, and there's spiders everywhere. And I went and bought the poison and stuff to kill them, but I didn't feel like doing it. So she was on me for weeks about killing the spiders. Yeah, I'll do that. Yeah. So finally she walks in one morning and she just is happy as can be and everything's good. And she says, oh, by the way, no more sex until you kill the spiders. And she walked away. Well, the first day, I didn't kill any stupid spiders. Second day, I didn't kill any stupid spiders. Third day, I'm killing every spider within miles of the place. I was killing you stupid spiders! I sprayed our house, I sprayed the neighbors' houses, man, I sprayed every... Did I want to do it? No. Did she care? Nope. And she's getting stuff out of the boy. Men's brains, women's brains. In closing, I want to talk to you about how men's brains and women's brains are portrayed in movies. You have guy flicks and you have chick flicks. Now, a guy flick is only a guy flick as long as somebody is dying. And the more horribly they die, the more we love it. You know, some guy gets his head chopped off, we go, oh, yes! Dude, rewind that, man. This is, that's gotta hurt. Play it again, man. We love it. And you know what? This appeals to all men of every culture around the world. There is something that God put in the heart of every man that just lights up at the idea of living your adventures and conquering your adversaries and going for your dreams. You see it even in the smallest of boys, you girls that have little boys, you know what I'm talking about. They're always doing something dangerous. Stop that, you're gonna poke your eye out. That's the point, Mom. If you can't lose an eye, what's the point of playing? It wasn't a woman who invented football. No, we like that. There's something just blesses the heart of a man when he watches one man kick another man's butt. Yeah! Light up on the inside. Just, we love it! I believe God put that in. I'll tell you, you can't possibly read the Bible and not see that God is a first-class, #1, grade A butt kicker. Not a chance. Even at the end of the Bible, it says someday Jesus is going to come back and he's going to be riding on a white horse and his robes are going to be dipped in the sweetest perfume that he got from Bath and Body Works. Is that what it says? No. Robes are going to be dipped in what? Blood. And all the men go, oh, shit. Dude, blood. That means somebody's going to get their butts kicked. We love it. Now, women's movies, chick flicks, are a little different. Chick flicks are about connecting the wires. You know, a chick flick can be 2.5 hours of 4 women sitting around a kitchen table talking. And she'll be watching it going, and her husband's watching it with her going, I want to kill myself. This is stupid movies. But she just loves it. And these movies, they appeal to all women of every culture in the world. Why? There's something God put in the heart of every woman that says, connect the wires, connect the wires. It's all about relationships. It's relationships. One of the reasons why married men make more money than single men is that married men become more skilled in their relationships and become more successful in life. They become more valuable to their employers. Because when a man marries a woman, he's marrying a handbook on relationships. It's true. It's absolutely true. Single men remain as they came into the world, clueless. Married men get feedback and they start learning, but you got to listen to her. No, we don't like listening to you. I got to be honest with you. Yeah. I'll come up with some great plan and my wife will say, better not do that. Oh, woman, what are you talking about?
I'm telling you, it's a bad idea.
Oh, Yeah, you guys. Yeah, we better not do that. Yeah. I just feel it in my spirit. Now, as different as the chick flicks and the guy flicks are from each other, there is one theme they both share that is the same, and that is this: the hero always goes back for the girl. You see it in the guy flicks, man. They're just fighting their battles, and they're on the edge of victory, and suddenly the hero starts to pull back, and his men say, where you going? And he says, going without me, boys. Ugh, I got something I gotta do. And at great risk to himself, he goes back for the girl, and he rescues the girl. And guys watch that on the screen, and we go, yeah. Women have the same theme. The boy always comes back for her. I was watching this chick flick, Jerry Maguire. Have you seen this one? And in this movie, they'd broken up, and finally he wins the big contract, and he realizes it doesn't mean anything because he doesn't have her. And he quick hops on a plane, and he flies home, and he walks into the house, and she's there with a bunch of her girlfriends, and he walks in unexpectedly, and they all look up, and he goes, oh, hello. And she says, what are you doing here? And he starts to explain to her that he had finally succeeded and gotten everything he dreamed of, but it meant nothing without her. And he said to her that you complete me. And she goes, you had me at hello. And all the girls see that, and they all go, oh, yes, 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 yes. All I'm saying to you boys is this: do what's in your heart. Live your dreams. Live your adventures. Overcome your obstacles. Do what you gotta do. Just don't forget about the girl. I've never met a man who was a financial success and who had lost his family who ever said to me, you know, it was worth it. It's never worth it. Don't be like Adam. You remember Adam in the Garden of Eden? Women say, where would you be without women? I say, Garden of Eden. But, it's just a joke. I know it's not fair. Really, Adam's job was to guard the garden, to take care of the garden. He fell down on the job. When that serpent came around, he should have kicked that thing out on its butt. I don't know if serpents had butts, but they don't now. When God takes care of you, man, I'm telling you, lose your butt altogether. But you know what happened? He didn't do anything. So how do you know that? Because if you read the story, Eve listened to this story and then took of the forbidden fruit and then turned and handed it to whom? Adam. Ah, she didn't have to go running through the jungle going, Adam! Where you at, boy? I know you're here. He was right there the whole time. He said nothing. He did nothing. Do you know why? Because he was a coward. He was a coward and the father of cowards. Of men who claim to be men, but they're no more men than the man in the moon. They are spineless jellyfish, impersonators, who are afraid to engage their wives, afraid to engage their children. You, sir, are no man. Don't be like that, Adam. You need to be like the second Adam. You see, the Bible refers to Jesus Christ as the second Adam. The first Adam messed everything up. The second Adam set everything straight. And at great cost to himself, he came back for the girl. He came back for you and for me. That is a man. You need to be like that. Live your adventures, yes. Go for your dreams, yes. Overcome your obstacles, yes, yes, yes. Just don't forget about the girl. Don't get so caught up in your puking little life you forget about her. You start working too late at some point, you just stand up and start heading for the door. All the guys will say, hey, where are you going? Just say, go on without me, boys. I got something I gotta do. And then go back for the girl, surrounded in the camp of the enemy by wild monsters. You mean like in the movies? No, I mean your children. All I'm saying to you is do what's in your heart. It's in the heart of every man here, and it's in the heart of every woman here. Don't forget about her. Don't neglect her. Do what you need to do, but make sure that you go back for the girl. Are you glad you came tonight? Okay, now we're going to do the Yo Mama session, the #1 key to incredible sex. And I just want to set this up a little bit for you guys so you can kind of understand where I'm coming from. In addition to some of the things that I do, being a minister and a relationship speaker and a musician and whatever, I'm also a pilot. And if I were to try and tell you how to go from my home airport in Stevens Point, Wisconsin, to Green Bay. Ooh, we got a Green Bay person there. They say, Pastor, how do you get there? I'd say, well, you pretty much would fly a heading of 090. Actually, technically, it's a little more north of that, but for our example, that's fine. You fly 090, you pretty much go right from Stevens Point to Green Bay. Okay? Now, that's assuming there are no other variables. For example, if the wind starts blowing very hard out of the north, and you keep flying 090, you won't get to Green Bay. You'll wind up in Milwaukee or Chicago or who knows where else, depending on the strength of the wind. So if the wind is coming that hard, we might change our heading to 065 or something. Now we're flying more like this to go this way. okay? If you keep just pointing the plane to where you want to go without adjusting to the variables, you'll always get off course. So it seems kind of odd, but a lot of times you're flying in weird angles so you can go straight. Now, what I'm going to share with you when I talk about sexual issues here is how to get from point A to point B. But it depends on your variables, and everybody has them. All right? And it's impossible for me to cover all of that in this session. I'll try and do the best that I can. But you're going to have to use your own best wisdom, your best judgment, common sense, to understand why something I might share may not exactly help you get to where you need to get because of your past or whatever the deal is. And then you adjust accordingly. And if you're really stuck, you know, give us a call. You know, call our office. We would love to help you. And we really appreciate when people call us and asking us questions about, well, how do I deal with this problem and that sort of thing. So just keep that in mind. I understand you might have some big variables, and you'll just have to adjust for yourself in that. The other thing that I want you to keep in mind is this. You know, being a minister, sometimes when you start talking about sexual things and you start to try to explain to people why you have certain moral stands, you know, they don't really understand. But there's a reason for that. The reason God encourages people to wait until marriage to have sex is because when you have sex outside of marriage, you run a very high risk of messing things up. Now, this is particularly true for men. Men tend to imprint off of their early sexual experiences, much like a bird. Some of these birds, these cranes and stuff, they imprint on the first thing they see after they're born. I don't know if you know about this, but there's some animals that when they're born, the first thing it sees, it imprints on and thinks it's mama. So if these stupid cranes are born and a chicken's around, it's going to follow the chicken and ignore its mother. And professionals who deal with these animals have to be very, very careful not to be seen over. I've watched them work with them while they're actually dressed up like gigantic cranes to get around them because they're not the brightest things in the world. You know, it's mama, you know, and they'll follow it everywhere. And men tend to imprint off of their early sexual experiences. If a man's early sexual experiences are in the context of lust, which is what they are outside of marriage, it's not really about love, it's about lust, it's about heat, it's about the backseat of a car, it's about someone they don't really know. They tend to imprint on that. They tend to imprint on the sex and not the girl. Are you following me? It's like when they have this, you know, these early orgasmic experiences, it's like their psyche goes, whoa, what was that? And it starts taking pictures. You know, this is because they want to remember. And they imprint off of this. And that's why a lot of guys, they get stuck here. That's why a lot of men are constantly, even in their marriages, are trying to recreate a lust environment, trying to get fulfilled sexually as a married man, trying to force their wives to do things that a lot of them are very uncomfortable in doing. Why are they doing that? Because they're trying to recreate this thing. They're trying to recreate this thing. See, if a man's early sexual experience is in the context of marriage, where he falls in love with this girl and all these people gather together and they all approve of it and they have this wedding and they're in a church and their God approves of it and all their friends and family approve of it and they have the biggest celebration of their life, and then on their wedding night and on their honeymoon he starts having these first experiences. You know, now he's imprinting on the girl and he connects to the girl at a very deep level. That's why people who wait until they're married to have sex have a fraction of the divorce rate of the rest of the world. Because he's imprinting on her as opposed to just sex. I met a man not too long ago who told me after a session, he says, you know, I got a problem. I said, what is it? He says, I'm just not interested in sex. You know, which to a Puerto Rican is very odd. And it's like speaking Swahili, man. I don't know what he's talking about. and I said, well, what do you mean? He says, I don't know. I'm just not interested in her. And she's really upset with me. And I said, well, are you never interested in sex? He says, well, you know, if we go out and have a nice dinner and go to a hotel or something, then I can get into it. And I said, let me ask you a question. Were you a virgin when you got married? He goes, no. And I says, were you pretty sexually active? You know, his eyes kind of lit up. Well, yeah. And I said, why don't you tell me about it? What would be a typical experience? Oh, you know, I'd find these women and pick them up in bars and take them out for dinner, go to some hotel. I said, do you see what you've done? You've so imprinted off of that you constantly try to go back there. You try to go back there. In fact, psychologists today, our whole sex culture that you get from experts is all lust-based because they assume virtually everybody's already done this. So they try and encourage people to keep recreating and keep fantasizing and keep imagining and all this other kind of stuff. And it can be very, very destructive. And men can have a really hard time really, truly connecting with their wives. Can you get past that? Yes, you can. And I'm going to show you how. But you just got to understand it's going to be different for you than for everybody else. Same was true with women. They also imprint, but they imprint in a different way. It's not so much on the sex as so much what happens after the sex. And when women have sex outside of marriage, nothing happens after sex. There's no connection. There's no follow-up. They imprint on that sex equals nothing. Sex means nothing. That's why so many married women have such negative attitudes about sex. What I was talking about last night, how this is such a key thing, they don't even comprehend it because they have learned falsely that sex means nothing. If a woman waits until her wedding night and sees how that is how she connects with this guy, she understands this means everything. This is a key. This is a very fundamental thing. Particularly, you feel very bad for women who've been sexually molested because not only does it mean anything, their whole experience was forced on them. And that so has such an impact. Those early experiences are so important. It's not like God is embarrassed about sex. God is not a prude. He's seen you naked. He can handle it. It would really freak me out, but he can handle it. Some people say, yeah, you shouldn't have sex before marriage. Yeah, it's just puritanical now. No. This stuff has a huge impact on people that a lot of you will struggle with this for the rest of your life. I'm going to show you how to help you with the struggle, which is not what you want to hear. You want to hear how you just fix it and it'll all go away. It won't probably just all go away. You will struggle with this for the rest of your life. All the more reason you need to tell your children what I'm about to tell you. So they do this right. It's a matter of like metabolism. You know how some people, they can eat anything they want and they never gain weight? You know, we all hate those people. You know, they never have to think about it. It's natural to them. They can eat anything and they stay slim all the time. Then there's the rest of us. We so much as look at food, we gain 5 pounds. What is the difference? We can still be at a healthy weight, but it's a lot harder for us. It's a lot more work for us, a lot more energy for us to get into a healthy place. What I'm talking to you about has to do with sexual metabolism. If you do this right in the beginning, those people have an automatic, natural, healthy metabolism. And they carry it with them throughout their whole lives. That's why these people usually stay married forever. These guys who get married at, 18 years old, like Debbie and I did, and die at 103, with just what, they have this healthy sexual metabolism because they didn't get all messed up. And everybody else struggles. That's not to say you cannot have a good sex life. You can. You can have a wonderful sex life. It's just for a lot of you, it's going to be more deliberate, and you're going to have to work at it a little bit harder than others. Are you following what I'm saying? I'm not trying to discourage you, but I'm not going to whitewash this to you. That's why you want to encourage your kids, wait. For the love of God, wait. And particularly for women, not only psychologically, they have now determined through research that women physically do not respond the same after they've had multiple sexual partners. Women typically, when they have sex, they release a chemical called oxytocin into their bloodstream. It gives them this buzz and it helps them to connect emotionally. It's the same chemical that's released in a woman when she breastfeeds a little baby. And it helps her to connect. They call it the bonding chemical. They have measured that women who have multiple sexual partners, they start releasing less and less oxytocin. Just a physical thing. I mean, this is really dramatic for women. Physically, they can't even get the same buzz. It's not worth it. You can make it work. You can have a healthy sex life. I'm going to show you how to do it. But all the more reason you want to encourage your kids, wait. Do this right. Don't tell them sex is wrong. Sex is wrong. Man, I told my kids sex rocks. Man, sign me up, Jack. I like this. All right? But do it the right way. If you don't do it the right way, they can struggle. Some of you are struggling now. Some of you will struggle for the rest of your lives. You can get it right. Just your metabolism is going to be different. It'll take more energy, and that's okay. Are you hearing me? Don't get discouraged. You can still do it. It'll just be different than if you would have waited. I wish to God we'd all waited. I know we didn't. And it depends on the amount of damage. I mean, just because you had one or two doesn't like you're seriously damaged. But some people who've really been into this stuff before they got married, you struggle. I know you really struggle with this stuff. And hopefully what I share with you in this session will really help you. Okay, y'all okay? You ready? Now what we're going to do is we are going to focus on the woman. You say, why is that? Because she's a lot more complicated than you. Thank you, dear. So we're going to focus on what it takes for a woman to experience great sex. You see, all a man needs for great sex is for you to show up. All we need is oxygen. Where is she? All right? All right, so guys are easy. Women are a little bit more complicated, and we're going to approach this. And again, keep in mind, I'm going to be dealing with this issue from a stereotypical standpoint that a man is more interested in sex than his wife. If you're the opposite, you just have to interpolate, and a lot of the same rules apply. All right? So anyway, so number 5. What does a girl need? Well, first, we're going to start with 5 and go up to the number 1 key to incredible sex. She needs romance. Looking at the Song of Solomon, he writes, "How delightful is your love, my bride. How much more pleasing is your love than wine, and the fragrance of your perfume than any spice." Here's a man who knew how to talk to a woman. He was romantic. Romantic. One of the things that really has me ticked off today with the whole porn thing, and there's lots of them that have me ticked off, but the fundamental one is that it has changed men today. It used to be that men were lovers of women, but this whole porn thing has turned so many men into self-centered pigs. It's not about making love to the woman, it's about being gratified. Why don't you do this to me? Why don't you do that? Hey, man, what do you do? Well, how do you get your head out of the toilet? All right? You want to have a great sex life? You've got to learn how to be a lover to the girl. You know, a lot of guys get mad because women aren't as turned on as they are automatically, or don't have as much desire as they have. Guys will say, well, my wife's not interested in sex. Sure she is. All women are interested in sex. All women have sexual desire, but it's different from you. Your job is to be a lover to her and awaken the sexual desire that is in her. All right? And a lot of guys, they don't want to do that. They just want to be lazy. I know, I are one. The guy should focus on the girl. It should be the man's goal to bring his wife to orgasm. You know, and you usually can tell by the way she responds, the little oohs and the ahs, and some of y'all it's yee-haw! Because a lot of women say, well, I'm so embarrassed. I couldn't do that. You know, and I say, girls, if your husband has to constantly ask you if you've been to the promised land, you ain't communicating. So, well, I don't know what to do. You know, come up with a signal. You know, whisper bingo in his ear. It makes for great code later. You can talk around the kids. They have no idea what you're talking about. Hey, baby, up for some bingo later? Yeah, I can do some bingo, you know. Your kids will say, man, you ever see mom and dad play bingo? What's with the bingo thing, you know? Of course, if you're a Catholic, I'm really freaking you out because y'all play bingo every Thursday night at your church. But that's a different bingo, all right? Lovers of women, you should be focusing on the girl. You need to romance the girl, and romancing the girl isn't in the middle of the night going, hey, you awake? Say, well, I'm interested then. Well, you know, look, if your wife likes you waking her up in the dead of sleep, then go for it. I don't care. The minute you feel turned on, you don't have to be immediately gratified. All that's doing is God reminding you, be nice to the girl. Be nice to the girl. Be nice to the girl. All right? And then that should kick you into your romantic mode, not your, hey, come here, baby. Help me out, will you? It is your job to be a lover to the girl. And I'll tell you what, this whole desire thing really has a lot of couples stressed out. Because we've always heard, you know, all of our lives and all the books and all the sex education, this is how it works. You know, desire leads to arousal, which leads to sex. Right? We've all heard that. Great. Only one problem with that. It's not true for millions of people, particularly women. There's some guys, this works for them too, and they really struggle because they, you know, I'm a man, I should be this way. But a lot of people, they're not. A lot of women exhibit little to no desire at all. And then they feel badly about themselves because they think, well, I should. I should. Who told you you should? Some stupid textbook? Who cares? I have discovered, asking couples and interviewing them, that, you know, this whole desire thing, a lot of guys, yeah, she's just not ever interested in sex. She doesn't want to have sex. And I said, really? I said, well, let me ask you a question. Will she have sex with you? Well, yeah. Well, what's she like when she does? Oh, she's incredible. In fact, I've actually come to the point, I don't have any data to support this, but just, you know, from the couples I've talked to, but I've come to believe that some of the most sexual people on the planet exhibit little to no desire at all up front. In fact, a lot of women who are incredible sexual animals are only feel like doing it when they're doing it. They don't lead with this big desire thing in front. Now stop and think how that changes your view of yourself. Because right now, if you think, well, gee, I never feel that much, there's something wrong with me, then you develop a negative attitude about sex. See? And a lot of guys get angry at their wives because, well, she never initiates it. She never wants. Well, who cares? Who cares? I promise you, in my house, I am the initiator. I am the initiator. I will initiate, and then I'll be back. Who cares? Who cares? This has really got a lot of people messed up. I'm telling you, a lot of women, it's just not there until you start waking it in her. Okay? So you've got to learn to be a lover to the girl. Learn how to awaken the desire that is in her. Which leads me to the next point, which she needs foreplay. Now you're preaching, brother. And let me say this to you. You know, a lot of guys' way of initiating sex is they'll ask their wife, you want to have sex? And the answer more often than not is no. Why would you ask a question that's most likely to be responded with a no. I never ask my wife if she wants to have sex. Never. I just go for it. Because I am the initiator. You may not feel like it now, but you will when I'm finished. Man, if your idea of romance and foreplay is, you want to have sex? There's something wrong with you. Come on, rise up. Take your place. Now check this out, Song of Solomon. I love this. He writes, your stature is like that of the palm tree, and your breasts are like clusters of fruit. I said to myself, I will climb the palm tree. Now take hold of the fruit. Hallelujah! Now the problem here is most guys don't want to take the time to climb the palm tree. They just want to hop in a cherry picker and swing in and grab the coconuts. Hey, baby, come on. You want to have sex? You awake? Come on. Stop that. You've got to learn how to climb the palm tree. You got to learn how to touch the girl, how to romance the girl. And you need to be romantic. You got to mix it up. Don't be so puking predictable. A lot of you guys, the minute you touch her, she knows what's coming. Why does she act like that? Because you're so obvious. You're so predictable. Women are not interested in a formula. Men are by nature formulaic. You do this, you do that, you get that. You do this, you do that, you get that. You do that. All right? And she's not, you do that every time with her. She just, get away from me. You need to mix it up. Got to learn how to climb the palm tree. You really want great foreplay? Turn it into a 24-hour deal. I call it slow roasting your woman. Man, it rocks! Don't be in such a hurry. Kiss the girl, leave her alone. Flirt with the girl, leave her alone. Touch the girl, leave her alone. Keep her guessing. What's going on? What is this? My wife will come out of the shower and say, hey, baby, just lay down. I'll give her a back rub and she'll fall asleep. Now, cover her up. Now, just crawl into bed next to her, turn off the light and go to sleep. So I couldn't do that, Pastor. I go blind. You won't go blind. You've got to learn how to climb the palm tree. Take it a time. Don't worry about this desire thing. You see, I'm waiting for her to have all this desire out in front. Stop. You're going to be a very old man before you have sex again. All right? Number 3. She needs time. Check this out. He says, how beautiful you are, my darling. Your eyes behind your veil are doves. Your hair is like a flock of goats. Not my choice of words, but apparently 4,000 years ago, this was hot talk. Your lips are like a scarlet ribbon. Your mouth is lovely. Your neck is like the Tower of David. Your 2 breasts are like two fawns, like twin fawns of a gazelle that browse among the lilies. And check this out. He says,
until the dawn breaks and the shadows flee. In other words, all night long.
This dude had to be in his 20s, man, I'm telling you. Those Puerto Ricans way past all night long, I gotta tell you right now. But all night long.
What's he gonna do all night long? He says, I will go to the mountain of myrrh and to the hill of incense. Where exactly is that, Pastor? Let me explain it to you. If you look in the back of your Bible where they have all those nice maps of the Holy Land and stuff, you can look as hard as you want, you won't find Myrrh Mountain anywhere. So, well, where is it? And I'll think it through. Talks about her hair, and her eyes, and her nose, and her lips, and her neck, and her breasts. Ends up at Myrrh Mountain. Where do you think it is? That's in the Bible?
Yes, it is. And the wild thing is he's there all night long. Which brings me to a very delicate subject. And for the love of God, don't raise your hands or point out anyone. But this is a problem for a lot of guys. I was watching this TV show once. My wife was in the hospital, and I was in the hospital with her, and we're just kind of killing time watching TV and flipping through the channels and all these daytime shows and different chick shows, talk shows, and we hit this one, and the lady says, today we're going to be discussing why women have a difficult time achieving orgasm. I said, okay, I'm in. So I said, let's watch this one. I like this one. So they have these women, and they have these psychologists and these doctors, and they're all, what's wrong with us? What's wrong with us? You know, women, what's wrong with us? We stink, we stink, we stink. And then they would go to the commercials, and they would do these teasers where they would ask a question and then give potential answers, and then you had to wait till after the commercial to get the answer, right? It's a teaser, make you stick around. Well, about halfway through the show, they asked this one question. What is the average length of a man's sexual experience? A, 2 minutes, B, 10 minutes, C, 20 minutes. And it went to commercial. I looked at Debbie, and I said, you know what the answer is? She goes, no, what? I said, 2 minutes. She goes, oh, it is not. I said, you watch. Came back, and ding, hey, 2 minutes. And then they went on. What's wrong with us? How can we have a hard time achieving orgasm? Hello, did you see the screen? Now do the math. If a woman needs anywhere from 7 to 14 minutes, and a boy's done in 2 minutes, you got yourself a math problem. And the worst part of it is, 2 minutes is the average. Now, guys, you can do better than the 2-minute drill. There's all kinds of things you can do. There's all kinds of books. There's all kinds of helps. There's exercises you can do. And I don't like exercising, but this stuff I can do. You know, that where you can get past this 2-minute drill problem. Now, ladies, you have to understand the #1 element to enable a man to beat the 2-minute drill is regular, consistent sex. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. You make a guy wait for 2 weeks, and he ain't gonna last 30 seconds for crying out loud. All right, you need to help this boy become a lover to you. You gotta help him get his stamina up, all right? But you gotta be focused on the girl. Now, if all you are is focused on yourself, a lot of guys, that's 2 minutes is more than enough time. It's all about them. I'll get my release, okay, thanks. And then they wonder why she doesn't want to have sex later. Well, it's a drag for her. I know women who've been married
their entire married lives who've never had an orgasm. Never. But who'd been married before and knew what an orgasm was. They knew what I was talking about. Come into my office, and I don't know. I said, well, let me ask you a question. Does he ever ring your bell? No. So have you ever had your bell rung? Yeah. So she knew what I was talking about. Been married before. So let me ask you a question. When he makes love to you, she goes, yeah. I said, 2 minutes or less. She goes, how'd you know? I mean, come on, guys. We can do better than the 2-minute drill. All right? Number 2, she needs privacy. Amen. He writes, let us go early to the vineyards, secret place, private place, to see if the vines have budded. If their blossoms have opened, if the pomegranates are in bloom. People sure are into gardening. And there he says, I will give you my love. It's going to be very difficult for a woman to feel very sexual or turned on if she doesn't feel that her lovemaking to you is safe and private. All right? Which means chances are, if you have dinner guests waiting in the next room, she won't be very interested. To a lot of guys, we'd have no problem with that. Make yourselves at home. There's Doritos in the cupboard. We'll be with you in a little bit. About 2 minutes, I'd say. She's not going to be interested in that, you nitwit. That's why for a lot of women, just having children makes it difficult for them to feel very sexual. I call children the anti-sex. Because they're always around, it's always around, and it's hard for them to feel very sexual. You got to work with her on that. And ladies, you know, there's locks on your doors, use them, you know. You can't just neglect the sexual needs of your husband until they're 18. Don't worry, honey, they'll be gone eventually. Everything changes with children. You know, you're not the same anymore. Women, guys have to understand that physically they're different, emotionally they're different. Everything's changed. Those beautiful, seductive breasts are suddenly transformed from erogenous zones into public utilities. And guys, she's being touched all day long. And then you come home. Hey, baby. Touch me and die. Now, you hang a couple of monkeys from your testicles all day long. See how you feel at the end of the day. I'm good. I'm good, thanks. I'm okay, thank you. Thanks for asking. I'm good. I'm good. Boys, she's not the same, but girls, he is. Ain't nothing happened to him. He's still the same wild man you married. And a lot of couples, they really mess up at this point in their marriages. That's why a lot of marriages only make it to about the 5 to 7 year mark. Just long enough for the rugrats to come in, upset the apple cart, and you fail to make the proper adjustments. And it destroys the relationship. Ladies, you cannot get so engrossed in being mommies that you forget about the sexual needs of your husband. So, but Johnny needs me, Johnny needs me. I'll tell you what Johnny needs. He needs a father. And if you keep it up, he's not going to have one. It's not worth it. And girls, you have to be really careful about rejecting your husband sexually. I don't know if you're aware of this, but for most men, as few as 3 or 4 rejections in a row, and he'll begin to shut down sexually. If you have a husband who argues with you about sex, consider yourself blessed by God. Because at least you keep it on the front table. But a lot of guys, they just shut down. I have women in conferences like this who come up to me, tears running down their faces, saying, I did that to my husband, now he won't touch me. It's not worth it. Why do you think all the jokes on TV are about the young, sexually frustrated man, but the older, sexually frustrated woman? Because she comes back to life, see? You're going to come back to where you were, but now he won't care about you anymore. He won't feel safe to be the initiator anymore. And it's going to, you say, well, what do we do? Everything, you know, it rarely ever goes back to the way it was. You might have to turn into the initiator. I mean, it's not worth it. You younger ones, watch yourselves during this time. I understand you're tired. And guys, get a clue. The girl is exhausted. Give her a break. Let her rest. They just did a survey on USA Today weekend, this weekend. I don't know if you saw it. But they said, what were men's #1 interests? It was sex, food, and sleep. And they surveyed women, and their top 3 interests were sleep, food, and sex. I mean, you're being traded in for a cheeseburger, Jack. You know what I'm saying? Help the girl. Let her rest. Give her a break. You want her to be a lover to you? Let her take a nap. You take the little rugrats for a while. Let them peel your brain apart. All right? And all of this now leads us to the #1 key to incredible sex, which I will give to you right after this break. Alrighty, here we go. The #1 key to incredible sex. Exclusivity. I can't spell. Exclusivity. When one man focuses just on one woman. Looking at the Song of Solomon. Now she writes and says, I belong to my lover, and his desire is for me. Something incredible happens when a man focuses on just one woman. Now, this is radical what I'm telling you, because our culture today says the key to great sex is lust. The more you fantasize, the more you check out the hot babes, the more you're looking at pornography on the internet, and check, oh, the better your sex life will be. But they are lying to you. Our culture has completely lost its mind in this area. And all the experts talk about, yes, the key to incredible sex is to fantasize and to masturbate. And who is this woman? I can't imagine her having sex. It's just like, ugh. Hollywood. Hollywood. The people who can't stay married for more than 3 months at a time is giving us the perfect scenario for great sex. Lust, fantasy, ooh, 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 ooh. But it is a big, fat, stinking, puking lie. It doesn't work. You say, well, you're just against it because you're a preacher. No, no, no. I do not oppose lust on moral grounds. I could preach you to hell and back if you want it. But I don't have to. It doesn't work. At least if it worked, it would make some degree of sense, but it does not, and no one challenges it today. You ever read that story of the emperor's new clothes? How everybody went around and told the emperor how great he looked, and oh, he's just walking around in his underwear, and everybody, oh, you're great. And some little kid finally says, you know, he's naked. I feel like that little kid. All the experts today, they keep repeating the same lie over and over and over and over again, and everyone just, oh yes, the emperor's clothes are magnificent. Oh yes, lust and pornography and masturbation. Oh, this is fantastic sex when you do this. But it doesn't work. And the proof is in the pudding. People say, oh, it's your proof. By proof is you guys who do it. Let me ask you guys who sit around in the dark and check out the hot babes on the internet, and sit around and yank on your wanger. Come on, you wanger yankers, you know who I'm talking to. Let me ask you a question. How's that working for you? Huh? You got great sex? You know you don't. In fact, the more you do it, the more you indulge in it, the worse your sex life becomes. And the prescription the world gives us is, oh yeah, you just need more porn, you need more porn. But it doesn't help. It keeps making it worse. It is destroying people's lives. In Hollywood, they just don't get it. All these experts. I was watching this one show, you've seen the show Family Feud? This one week they had soap opera stars on. And I'll hand it to these people. They look great, but they were as dumb as a box of rocks. And they asked them this one question. It said, 100 people surveyed. What can you do to improve your romantic life? And they come up to the first team. Say, okay, I need an answer. And they're, oh, yeah, okay. And they come to the first person, and he says, what's your answer? What can you do to improve your romantic life? He goes, have an affair. And all the other rocks in the box go, good answer, good answer, good answer. Have an affair. How can you be so stupid and still breathe? The way to improve your sex life is to have an affair with somebody else. But that's the culture they live in. The more lust, the more naughty, somehow it improves. It does not improve, it destroys. I know psychiatrists and psychologists who have prescribed to couples in an effort to improve their relationship, have an affair. So ignorant are they that the emperor is walking around naked. Went over to the next, he said, have an affair. The guy looked at him like he was nuts. Okay, have an affair. Went to the next rock. What can you do to improve your romantic life? View pornography together. Good answer, good answer, good answer. View porno. Every answer they came up with was lust-based. 3 strikes. They couldn't get it. Went over to the other box of rocks. Same thing. I'd never seen it before. Neither side could get one answer. Because when they got done, he said, well, let's take a look. And it was like, spend time with each other, have a romantic dinner, take a long walk, bring her flowers, stuff that any moron knows. But these people don't get it. They don't get it. Oh, yeah, that's great. Look, the world's answer to great sex, their formula is number 1, fantasize. Oh, yeah, that's a good idea. Ignore the real woman in your life and focus on one who would never give you the time of day. Oh, yeah, let's do that. Let's pretend. Let's live in a fantasy world. We are trading in real women for fantasies. How can we be so stupid? And this is becoming a real problem. And you know who's beginning to notice it? A lot of people way off on the liberal left are starting to notice it. They're starting to write about it. They're starting to realize there is a problem. Men are becoming more and more diminished sexually and are becoming unable to perform because they have so overstimulated themselves with pornography. It is destroying them. I've met women who've told me that their husbands prefer pornography and masturbation to actually making love to them. I had a woman in my office, and she's a 20-something-year-old, good-looking woman, like Hoochie Mama, okay?
So, well, I didn't think pastors notice that sort of thing.
Hey, I may be sanctified, but I'm not petrified. All right? A good-looking woman is a good-looking woman.
And she tells me sitting there, she says, my husband hasn't touched my vagina in over a year. Not interested. I said, you're kidding me. So what does he want? Well, he just wants me to do these weird things to him. All garbage he's got in his head through looking at porn. Trading in real women for fantasies. What in the world? So many women I've talked to in the last year who says, my husband admits he would rather masturbate than make love to me. Fantasize and masturbate. Oh, that's their idea of great sex. And what is it with this masturbating thing? And the passion to which these people rise to defend masturbation as some form of great sex. I don't get it. I'd love to know who the first hillbilly was that went,
you know, that kind of looks like a vagina.
and this is starting to destroy a lot of men's sex lives. Do not fool yourselves. There is no way in the world you can keep doing that over and over and over again and not retrain your body. Everybody knows this. When it comes to anything physical, athletes know this. They train, they do the same repetitive action over and over again in order to train their bodies so their bodies will respond in a certain way. Athletes do this. Whether it's tennis or football or whatever, they train over and over again so that without thinking about it, their body reacts in a certain way. The military knows that you train young men to react in a certain way. They do the same drills over and over and over and over again. Why? Because you train your body so that without thinking, you act in a certain way. How in the name of God, our culture is teaching our young people from the age of 13 to start masturbating 2, 3, 5, some of them 7 times a day, thinking that it will not retrain them. The truth of the matter is there are a lot of men today who are no longer able to function with a woman. And I hear this all the time in these seminars. Guys who come to me, women who come to me, who tell me their husbands cannot perform. There are a lot of men today who cannot perform with a woman. I had a guy call our office. He says, man, he says, I can have sex with my wife for hours. Nothing ever happens. Incapable of achieving an orgasm. But he can do it by himself. Oh, that's great. Oh, that's wonderful. Yeah, let's get all our kids doing that. Let's get them doing that. He went to the doctor to find out what was wrong with him, and he was diagnosed. This is not a joke, seriously. TMS, the doctor said you have TMS. It's called traumatic masturbatory syndrome. It's actually reconditioned his penis to a certain type of stimulation. It won't respond to a real woman. What are we thinking? And you know what really fries my Puerto Rican pancakes? Is when they say, well, this is how you can achieve orgasm. You masturbate until you achieve orgasm. And they tie the words masturbation and orgasm together. They are crazy. You cannot achieve an orgasm through masturbation. You can ejaculate, you can have something physically happen to you, but it is not an orgasm. An orgasm is when you're making love to a woman and you reach your peak and endorphins are released into your bloodstream and every cell in your body stands up and grabs the hand of the cell next to it and goes, hallelujah! That is an orgasm. Almost universally, people report that when they masturbate, they immediately feel the opposite. Icky, dirty, or guilty. And psychologists have been telling us for decades now, oh, you don't have to feel guilty about masturbating. It's fine. I know Christian pastors who tell their young people, you don't have to feel guilty about masturbating. It's fine. I know psychologists, you don't have to feel guilty. It's fine. I'll tell you what, you can fool your mind, but you will never, ever, ever fool your body. And there are a lot of men today, I believe, who have never achieved an orgasm. They ejaculate. That's all they do. They've so trained their... You cannot get your body doing this over and over and over again and think you can function normally. All they've trained their bodies to ejaculate, they never really achieve an orgasm. Oh, that's great. Oh, that's wonderful. Yeah, let's get all our kids doing that. The misinformation our kids are getting today, a lot of you have gotten it, but dear God, our kids are getting it in spades. The misinformation is going to wreck their sex lives, has the potential to wreck their sex lives for the rest of their lives. And nobody is telling you what I'm telling you right now. Most preachers don't like talking about this stuff. It freaks them out. As you can tell, I have no such problem. And I understand that, but we have got to start talking about this stuff. We're trying, in the church, we're trying to win an argument where we only let the other side talk. We're trying to win a war where we only let the other side have bullets. Then we wonder why 50% of the men in our congregations have sexual addictions. That's the number, 50%. In our congregations, church-going men, sexual addictions. You have to understand something. Pornography will rob you of great sex. See, every man, the reason why it's such a temptation is because we think it's great sex. Oh, we want to check out that baby. Oh, if we get on the line, I'll have greater sex, I'll have greater sex. That's what sucks us in, with the promise of great sex. But it is a lie. I promise you. The more you do it, and you know the ones of you who do it, the more you do it, the opposite happens. They are lying to you. I'm telling you, the lies that this generation has faced and is continuing to face along sexual information, there are so many blatant lies along this line. We have lost our minds in this country. It is destroying people's lives. You know one of the biggest problems we're having today in America? Sexless marriages. Sexless people don't want to have sex. Don't have to have sex. Have sex with themselves. Oh, that's great. Yeah. Yeah, let's trade in a real woman for a fantasy one. Remember that little diagram I gave you last night? Got the heart and the smiley face. And that motivates that. When you masturbate, that breaks the system. I'd be nice to her. I'd pay attention to her. So self-centered men, lazy, and for a quick release, become lovers to themselves instead of lovers of women. This is sad stuff. Well, what do you tell our teenagers? Tell them to wait. They won't die. No one has ever died from lack of ejaculation. And there's a lot of misinformation about that. People talk about this condition called blue ball. And not to try to gross you out, but that's, well, I have women, well, what about my son? Won't they get blue ball if they don't masturbate? No, they won't. That is one of the biggest urban myths that there are. It's the most ridiculous bunch of nonsense. There is a condition like that, but it has nothing to do with ejaculation. Nothing. It has to do with being overstimulated for a long period of time. And the answer is just quit being so stimulated and go back to normal. It is not a chronic condition. You're going to walk around tortured for the rest of your life if you don't masturbate.
There's never been a morgue anywhere in the world where on the toe said, cause of death, failure to ejaculate. Biggest bunch of lies. We're not animals. Your kids are not animals. You know what the difference between an animal and a human being is? We can say no. We have control over ourselves. We live in a culture where the idea of having control over yourself is ludicrous. It's absurd. There's people who will hear this video who will go, oh, I can't believe he's saying that. What false information? What false information? I speak at these things all around the country. You know, every once in a while I get into one of these scenarios where these experts are there. And I tell them just what I think, and it just freaks the willies out of them. And they get, where's your proof? You gotta have proof. Where's your proof? I'll give you my proof. You know, and it's so ignorant. Like, we need to prove this? We need to prove this? Some things are so obvious. It's like trying to prove, well, where's your proof that oxygen is good for your lungs? So I attempt to prove it to them. Let's start with our scientific explanation, shall we? Let's assume that A turned-on woman plus B, a turned-on man, equals the best possible sex. Okay? Are you okay with it? You follow? Does that seem logical? For some reason, this is like, whoa! Oh, I've never heard such a thing to these experts. I mean, come on. If you don't have a turned-on man, kind of hard to have really great sex. If you don't have a turned-on woman, kind of hard to have really great sex. So we can at least agree you need a turned-on woman and a turned-on man to have great sex. Yes, we're there, okay? All right, now let me take a little survey here. About pornography. Ladies, if you, and you have to remember, these experts, these therapists, these nitwits I call, actually use this stuff in therapeutic ways. It's prescriptive. Pornography is prescriptive. This will improve your sex lives. So let me ask you, ladies, if you knew your husband had just been watching pornography and wanted to use you to satisfy himself while thinking about that other woman, how many of you that would make you feel very sexual and turned on? Let me see your hands. Okay? We'll call that 0. I presented this to some people. Say, well, you can't do that. You're not going to ask women if they're turned on. They'll never raise their hand. That will never work. This is improper. Okay. Let me change the question. If you knew your husband only thought about you and treated you like the only woman in the world without thinking about any other women, how many that would make you feel sexual or turned on? Let me see your hand. Oh, so women will raise their hands. All right, come on. All right, let's see your hands again. I got to get a count. Hands. Okay, we'll call that lots. Now, for our formula, for these experts who need... All right, I have checked with some of the greatest mathematical minds in the country, some graduates of MIT, and have determined, after repeated and at length discussions, that lots is greater than 0.
brilliant, truly brilliant. So we know now that porn results in a turned off woman. Well, right there, you got yourself a problem. If women are turned off by this idea of her husband fantasizing, then their prescription for porn to improve their sex lives is pure, unadulterated baloney. Because as soon as you remove, you can't get to the best possible sex. Right? And I do this for thousands of people. I have yet to have a solitary woman go, oh yeah, that'd be great. And I'm sure there must be one or two out there. But this is so lopsided, it blows one's mind. So blind are these people that the emperor's walking around naked. Oh, well, but we've learned that. And all the experts say. But we know that repeat porn exposure results in a diminished male. And I'm telling you, these people are starting to notice this. We're getting writings of people in secular magazines, liberal magazines, who are complaining, you know, hey, men are not able to perform. This is impacting men physically. They're not able to perform as a result of this stuff. I know of men, I know of ministers who, while they're making love to their wives, insist on having a dirty magazine open next to them so they can stay stimulated while making love to their wives. You can imagine how wonderful that makes her feel. Why do they have to do that? Because they cannot maintain an erection if they don't see that. That is the addictive power of this thing. And these people think this is good sex? This is great sex? So we know that repeat porn exposure results in a diminished male. Well, what's the scientific sign for a diminished male? If this is a scientific sign for a normal male, this would be the scientific sign for a diminished male. All right, you're all tracking with me here? All right, so this finally leads us to our scientific formula for the best possible sex. If A, a turned-on woman, plus B, a turned-on man, equals the best possible sex, and we know that porn results in a unturned-on woman, with repeated porn exposure resulting in a diminished man, then A plus B minus porn logically results in the best possible sex. Which means that these experts' information has to be based on broken science. You can imagine these people get really mad at me. And I don't care. I love it. I love it. These people look at me like I just dropped in from Mars. There's one lady who writes for, you know, a bunch of major women magazines in the country and Newsweek magazine and stuff like that, was interviewing me, and she says, well, I've never heard of such a thing, you know. I mean, is it masturbation normal? I mean, after all, children masturbate. So what? Children don't masturbate. She says, well, they touch themselves. So, well, I touch myself. And besides, is this our standard, children? I said, my grandkids will eat their own poop if I let them. Does that mean we should all eat poop? These people do not think, I'm telling you, they're the most intellectually dishonest people in the world when it comes to this issue. You know why? Because they're all addicted to this nonsense. And you know, I need more porn, I need more porn, I need more fantasies. And because of this imprinting that I talked about to you at the beginning, these men have so imprinted, they've got to constantly react and relive pornographic or naughty scenarios in their minds so they can enjoy sex. And if you've been there, I'm telling you, you need to break yourself of that.
You need to refocus. You need to take out the camera and start taking some new pictures. You make love to that girl. Forget about that other stuff. Quit trying to relive garbage in your head. It won't give you great sex. It will rob you. I promise you, the key to great sex is focusing on just one woman. You see, lust is like eating snack food all day long. It'll ruin your appetite for the real thing. Your mama was right. Snacking will ruin your appetite. You out there checking out that babe, checking out that babe, checking out the magazine, checking out porn. It's going to wreck your appetite for the real thing. You just try it. Try it for 30 days. Anybody can do anything for 30 days. For 30 days, do not look at another woman. Don't fantasize about another woman. Don't look at some stupid magazine or pornography. You just focus on that girl and see what happens to you. She will just come alive to you. And you to her, she can sense when she's the only girl in the world to you. It will rock. You'll have the best sex of your life, I promise you, or your money back. Let's get this right. I'm telling you, this will change your world. It'll change your world. We've got to start giving good information. Your kids need to hear about this. They've been lied. You know, when I do this for teenagers and for like young adults or college kids, they sit there stunned. You know what they say to me afterwards? How come no one ever told us this? Because all they've heard is the other nonsense. You mean I can never touch it? I didn't say you couldn't touch it. I got no problem with couples touching each other. And people say, what if we're gone for long periods of time? Okay, fine. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about you living in a house with a real woman and you ignore that woman and make love to yourself. This is insane. It is not great sex. It is terrible sex. These guys out there talking like they act like they really know great sex. Ha ha ha. Bunch of nitwits. They're number one, fantasize, masturbate, and then the number three, they coup d'etat. Wear a condom. Wear a condom. That's our secular world's idea of great sex. Man, to me, wearing a condom is like trying to eat an ice cream cone with a sock on your tongue. Man, if you want to practice birth control, use something else than a condom, man, don't you? If you can't tell the difference between real sex and a condom, we need to have a telethon for you, man. Raise money for our cure. That's it. And boy, that gets these experts really angry. When I say that, they get so angry. Oh, you're giving dangerous information. You're getting dangerous information. No. For the record, camera one, for the record, let me state, if you're going to have sex outside of marriage, by all means, wear a condom. If I were you, I'd wear 2 or 3. Kind of like double bagging at the grocery store. But do not delude yourself. Do not fool yourself. That is not great sex. You want great sex? Get married. The beautiful thing about being married is I don't have to wear a stupid condom. I know I'm freaking some of you out, but I don't care. I'm on a mission, man. Let's get this stuff right. Let's get this stuff right, man. God knew what he was talking about when he talked about one man focusing on just one woman. That is great sex. That is incredible sex. That'll blow your mind, knock your socks off sex. This fantasy nonsense and all this other stuff is destructive. It is poisonous. It is not great sex. It robs these people of great sex. And they're constantly looking
for better sex, trying to get satisfied somehow, trying to up the level somehow. It's like a heroin addict. It doesn't work. It just doesn't work. And if there's any group in the world who should have this together, it ought to be Christian people, in my opinion. Christians ought to be known for great sex. We should. People ought to be saying, man, stupid Christians, I hate them. Yeah, a bunch of self-righteous hypocrites, yeah. Here they got great sex lives, though. Really? What time do you suppose their services are? And we need to get this right. I know it's hard. This whole sexual thing can be a real struggle between men and women, that perfect standoff that we talked about. But don't neglect this area. Pay attention to this area. The church is getting sucked in just like the rest of the world, and it's sad. Christian Partnership Marriage Magazine, whatever it's called, did a survey a year or two ago. They asked this question: how many times did you make love in the last week? You know what the number one answer was among people of faith? 0. 0. And we wonder why we're having the problems that we're having. You know, men struggle with sexual temptation like you have no idea. And men cry out, God, what's your answer for my sex drive? What's your answer for... You know what God's answer for your sex drive is? Have sex. I like this answer. Girls, you need to be there for him. You have no idea how much men struggle with this. You need to be there for him. Do not neglect your husband's sexual needs. I know it's okay to put the conditions, all that kind of stuff, everything I talked about, but bottom line, fundamentally, you cannot ignore this area. I hear women complain bitterly. Oh, I wish the men in our church were more involved. I wish the men in our church would get more excited, and they just praise the Lord more. I got bad news for you girls. It's really hard for a sexually frustrated man to praise the Lord. You want your husband praising the Lord tomorrow morning? You put a smile on that boy's face tonight. That's what I'm talking about. He'll walk into this place going, hallelujah, somebody sing a song, let's get going. Ha ha, bingo. All right, y'all still love me? All right. I like you people. All right, final session. How to stay married and not kill your spouse. All right, we're going to take a look at what it takes to do that. But before we do, I want to take you to heaven and put you on a committee. And we're going to go back 4,000 years in time to the time of King David. Now, King David had 5 wives. Why any man would do that to himself is beyond understanding. But he had 5 of them. And now we need to decide on our committee which one of these women is going to be the mother of the next king of Israel. He's going to be King Solomon, the wisest man that ever lived. This was during Israel's golden age. It was the best time Israel ever had it. It was glorious. You talk about a run on the stock market. I mean, prosperity, no wars. It was fantastic because this king was so incredible. Who is going to be the mama of this king and then become the great-great-great-grandmother of the Lord Jesus Christ himself? Kind of an important decision, right? Now, ladies, you would think wife number 1, right? She should have dibs. She was there first.
But we know it wasn't her because David got mad at her and quit having sex with her, which is easy to do if you have 4 more in the wings. And you probably want to discount wife number 5. You remember her, Bathsheba? The only reason she's there is because of lust, lying, adultery, and murder. King David saw her taking a bath. See, that's what lust will do to you. Saw her taking a bath, seduced her, had sex with her, got her pregnant, and then murdered her husband to hide the whole thing and married her. There's nothing holy about this. There's nothing right about this. God never intended for that woman to be in the house. All right, so how would you decide? You think about that, and we'll come back to that. Okay, how to stay married and not kill anybody. Step number 1, you've got to avoid bitterness and resentment. Now, bitterness and resentment can build when one person feels they are unfairly bearing the burden of the relationship. When the weight of the relationship falls more on their shoulder than the other one's shoulder, then they will start to feel very bitter and resentful towards their spouse. Now, how men and women keep score is very different from each other to determine who's carrying the most amount of weight. Now, what I'm about to share with you, people ask me a lot, where did you learn all this stuff? What are your different influences? And, 32 years of marriage, that's one influence. But a lot of different people and listening to stuff, and I hear ideas, and I take them and change them and stuff. This particular, one of the guys that had probably a huge impact in my life about relationships was John Gray, and I think the guy's absolutely brilliant. I'm a lot funnier than he is, but he's brilliant, all right? And this section this is Gray to the T. Okay, I just admit it right up front. But the reason I share this because his insights on how men and women keep score is absolutely brilliant. It truly is. You see, men, when it comes to us keeping score, we're quick to give ourselves huge bonus points for everything we do. We crawl out of bed when we'd rather stay in, and just for that we give ourselves 500 points. And then we go to work and we put up with all the stuff at work and we earn the paycheck and we give ourselves, 2,000 points for that. And we come home without chasing other women and we give ourselves huge points for that, So we walk in the door, it's like 4,500, And that's why a lot of men have no problem sitting on the couch and now contributing nothing. Because in his mind, he's way up in points for the day, and now he's giving you a chance to catch up. Now, I didn't say it was right. Don't get mad at me. I'm just saying this is the way his brain ticks. And a lot of guys will actually start feeling very bitter towards their wives if they feel their wives are trying to make them do stuff. Because in his male psyche, he's way up in points for the day. He shouldn't have to do anything else. Now, the problem here is that women keep score a little differently. Let me show you how a woman would score the same man's day. He gets out of bed when he'd rather stay in, and for that, she loves and appreciates him and gives him, ding, 1 point. And then he goes to work, and he earns a big paycheck and does all this stuff, and she goes, I love that, and she goes, ding, 1 point. And then he comes home without chasing other women and comes home, and she's so glad to see him, ding, 1 point. So you walk in, you got 3. Well, she also got up, she also went to work, she also cleaned the toilet, she also took the kids to piano lessons, she also had it in, it's 13 to 3. And you don't want to do anything? And now she starts screaming at her husband, which in a way is a good thing because it's the silent ones who really do kill people. If it gets quieter on your house, I'd get nervous if I were you. So, she starts getting very, very angry. Now, when guys first hear about this, they get very discouraged. They go, wait a minute. You mean to tell me that no matter what I do, I get 1 lousy stinking point? Well, the answer is yes. But the good news is you can make this work for you. Because what men fail to realize is that women respond to virtually any simple act of kindness and reward it the same way as they would a big act of kindness. Right? Now, guys don't understand this. They think it's got to be big. It's got to be special. Girls, you have to understand the reason why we don't do a lot of small things around the house is because to a man, it doesn't mean anything. It's not that we hate you. We just couldn't possibly care less. It means nothing, and because it means nothing to us, we think it should mean nothing to you. But guys, you can't make that mistake. She scores very differently from you. Simple acts of kindness. It's those simple, like I told you last night, it's those simple acts of kindness that got her to fall in love with you in the first place. It's relatively easy to get a woman to fall in love with you if she'll pay attention to you in the first place. That's the hard part. You cross that hurdle, you got it made. As long as you pay attention. Simple acts of kindness. You do that, you can keep a woman crazy in love with you for your entire life. Simple acts of kindness. Every time you do a simple act of kindness. Ding, ding, ding. But guys, we don't think that way. If it's got to be big, it's got to be important. That's why a lot of guys, they'll only go all out for their wives, about 4 times a year. Birthdays, anniversaries, Christmas, and the obligatory Valentine's Day. And we think we'll do something real special and real fancy, and we think, well, that'll hold her. But that doesn't hold her. To her, you've done 4 things all year, you bum. Now, guys, again, they get discouraged. Oh, for crying out. You mean, I can't believe. But listen, you can make this work for you. This is great. I'm about to show you how you can succeed with a woman while doing virtually nothing. All right? I thought I'd get an applause out of that, but I don't know. I don't like the sound of this. Now, here's an example. You get up in the morning, your wife's brushing her teeth, you're standing next to the bed. Make the bed. It takes 120 seconds of your life. It's nothing. She'll walk into the room and go, "Huh, you made the bed." Ding! You know that monument that you're building in the middle of your bedroom of old underwear? Pick it up. Throw it in the hamper. She'll walk in. He picked up his underwear. Ding! When you're done eating dinner, instead of just slugging off in front of the TV like Jabba the Hutt, clear off the table. It's 60, 90 seconds of your life. It's nothing. She'll go, he cleared off the table. Ding! And now you're scoring. Ding! But see, guys don't get that. Gray uses this great analogy. He says, if you bring a woman a rose, she'll go, ah! Ding! And then men, we think, wait a minute. 1 rose, 1 point? A dozen roses, 12 points. So we run out and we spend, $80, $90 for a dozen long stem roses, and we bring them to her, and she goes, "Oh, thank you! Ding!" In fact, by the raising of your hand, how many women would say, "I would rather receive a single rose 12 different times than a dozen roses once"? Let me see your hand. See, now a guy looks at that and goes, so inefficient. You want to make out like a bandit on this deal? Plan something special for your wife, like taking her out to dinner next Friday night. Nice restaurant. Go ahead and get a babysitter in advance. Get everything all set. But then tell her what you've done. A lot of guys, they'll think, "Oh, I'll surprise her." No, you amateur. Surprise her. Never try to surprise a woman. So what you do is you tell her in advance. The minute you tell her, "Honey, guess what? Next Friday night we're going to such. I got some nice reservations. I already got a babysitter. We're going to have a great time." The minute you tell her what you're going to do, ding! You just got a point. You haven't done it yet. All right? Then, because she's a woman, she's going to tell all the other women in her life about what you've planned.
And every time she shares with another girl, you know what Bob's got planned? He's already, next Friday night, he's got reservations at such and such, and he's already got a babysitter. So excited. Every time she shares that story, ding!
You get another point. And now you are literally doing nothing. And the beauty of that system is every time you're earning a point, the husband of the other wife, that poor slob, is losing one. So it's kind of like a double coupon thing going for you. You really want to make out like a bandit?
Engage your wife in meaningful conversation.
Now, to a lot of women, meaningful conversation means she talks, you shut up and listen. But you can't just drift off into your nothing box. You have to let her know that you're hearing her. Every time you acknowledge that you've heard her, ding! So she'll go, la 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 la. You go, you don't say. Ding! La 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 loop-de-loop-de-loop-de-doo. You mean loop-de-doo? Ding! La 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 la. Really well. How did that make you feel? Ding, 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 ding. And you're doing nothing. Now, guys, girls, sorry. Now, girls, you can't forget that he gives himself huge bonus points for everything he does. So how can a woman earn huge bonus points with a man? So, sex is a great way to earn great bonus points with a man. But there's another way. And that is when you believe in him. Every man wants his wife to believe in him. Now, that sounds like a simple thing to do, especially to you young girls who haven't been married very long. But that's because you haven't heard the incredible, stupid ideas he's going to come up with yet. And a lot of women, they feel it's their God-given responsibility to try and keep their husbands humble or something, you know, because he'll come up with this idea and they respond, that's stupid. Oh, that'll never work. You could never do that. And they don't realize when you talk to a man like that, you are doing incredible damage to him and to your relationship with him. Men, if you have not figured this out yet, men have very, very fragile egos. We just do. We might look like tough guys on the outside, but we're girly men on the inside because we can't handle that kind of, rejection and all that kind of stuff and criticism. Most men don't handle it very well. And when women treat their husbands that way, when he tries to share his dreams with you and you dismiss them as stupid and ignorant and he can't do that, that's very, very, very damaging. Now, that's not to say you can't challenge his ideas. Keep him from destroying himself and the family. That's okay. But you need to be his number one fan. Because I'll tell you what happens. When you do that, you know what he learns? I cannot share my dreams with this woman. And men will stop telling their wives their dreams. If your husband never tells you his dreams, you guys might need to have a serious talk. And the reason he's not telling you is probably because you have given that kind of reactions to him. And it's very damaging to a man. And now you got yourself in a really bad place because almost miraculously,
at work there's some bimbo there who just accidentally hears one of his ideas and goes, oh, you know, that would be a great idea. Oh, really? Oh, yeah, you'd be great at that. Oh, well, thank you very much. And now you're in serious trouble. You need to understand something, girls. Most affairs do not begin for sexual reasons. They begin for emotional ones. And you need to let that boy know that you are his #1 fan. And it's hard for a lot of women. I'll tell you who really struggles with this: women of professional men. Doctors, lawyers, preachers' wives. A lot of them really struggle in this. Why? Because they get so tired of hearing everybody praise their husband. Oh, you're so great. He's so great. He must be wonderful. He must be wonderful. I've heard with my own ears a woman, as soon as they came into the door, she says, you know, everybody thinks you're so smart. I know what an idiot you are. Think, what is she thinking? She's doing God's work somehow? Everybody thinks you're so great. I know how stupid you really are. Huge damage to the relationships. You need to let that boy know you are his #1 fan. And as much as I love it when people come up to me after these seminars and say, oh, you were great, I loved you, and I do love that because I have an ego the size of Texas, you know, and the one that means the most to me is when that cute redhead comes up to me and says, you did a great job today. And I know the only reason she says that is because I just said this now. And I don't care. All right, so be careful with the scores. Now what do you do? What do you do if the scores get so unbalanced and everything gets so out of whack? Well, then you got to do #2. You need to learn how to keep the reset button handy. Now, when my son Philip was a little boy, I used to be a video game addict. And I loved to play video games. And I would play for hours. And I had the latest, greatest, whatever, boxes and stuff like that. And he would come up to me and say, Dad, can I play with you? Can I play too? And I'd say, sure. Sure. So I'd give him a controller, and I took the cord and I ran it back, but I wouldn't plug it in. He was a little boy. He didn't know.
Oh, that's terrible. What would you think about that? It is going to be...
He's just a little boy. He was thrilled. He got to have a controller in his hand. And we would play for hours just laughing and giggling and having a great time. But it did dawn on his brain at some point that something was amiss. And he said to me one day, he says, Dad. I said, yeah. He goes, I think my controller's busted. I said, what makes you say that? He goes, it's not responding. Responding? Ooh. I was pretty impressed. He obviously had been listening to us talk, and I followed I said, oh, it's not plugged in. How did that happen? So we plugged it in, and all of a sudden it comes to life. He goes, yeah, that's it. And sure enough, the little rat could play. And he's playing, and I'd let him get way in front, and then I'd catch up, and I'd let him get way in front, and I'd catch up, and we just do this for hours, having a great time. The problem with this plan was, though, is he eventually got really good. When I was better than him, I would let him get way ahead, but when he got better than me, he felt no such compassion for the old man. And he would kill me. Just kill me. I mean, just massacre me. Just, 180,000 to 12, And I'd reach over and hit the reset button. Bleep! And he'd say, Dad! I'd say, shut up, keep playing. We're trying to get us. And he'd get way ahead, and I'd do it again. Bleep! Dad, cut it out! My hand slipped. And I loved the reset button. Do you know why I love the reset button? Because whenever you would push the reset button, everything would go back to the way it was. Wouldn't it be great if relationships had a reset button? That when things got so crazy and the scores got so unbalanced and things were so out of whack, that all you had to do was push a button and everything would go back to the way it was. Wouldn't that be great? Do you know God has given us just such a button? Some years ago, I was in Phoenix. Actually, Phoenix, Arizona. And this is, the early 70s, when the dinosaurs still roamed the earth. And the very young man, I was part of a revival meeting. You ever been in a revival meeting? You know, they'd have meetings every night, and you never had an ending time. You just would keep going and going and going and going until people quit coming. And our meetings would go sometimes for months on end. As long as people kept coming and asking Christ into their lives, it was very, very cool. We had a lot of fun. During the day, we would go out, we'd hand out flyers inviting people, and at night we'd have these meetings. Well, my favorite place to go in downtown Phoenix was in front of the downtown porno shop, because it was hilarious to hand somebody a flyer about Jesus on his way into a porno shop, because it would just freak him out. You know, he'd go, oh, thanks, and he'd go, all of a sudden he'd go, oh, wait a minute, this isn't J.C. Penney's? What am I doing here? It was hilarious. I'd keep myself entertained for hours doing that, you know. We weren't protesting, or just handing, how you doing? Yeah, hi. And it was just great entertainment. Well, the guy who owned the porno shop, though, wasn't having nearly as much fun. And he was losing tens of thousands of dollars, and he thought we were never going to leave because there was no ending on our flyers, and we just kept going and going and going. And he became very desperate, and desperate people do desperate things. And this man hired a professional killer to come to the meeting to shoot the evangelist to get rid of us, so that after he would kill the evangelist, we would all freak out and leave town. Well, the perfect scenario would have been for, you know, the evangelist always came out in the beginning and welcomed everybody, and as things were kind of settling down, he could have just boom and in the confusion taken off. But this particular night, I'll never forget it, the evangelist calls us over and says, hey, you guys, he says, I don't feel so good. He says, something's wrong. He says, can you start without me? And we said, well, yeah, sure. So we start without him. So, which is really kind of a drag if you're a killer. Because, you know, revival meetings don't exactly go with your mojo. You know, you're trying to get the nerve up to shoot somebody, and now you're stuck in a revival meeting. Well, now he's got to play along, right? He's got to fake it. So he's singing along, la 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 blah 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 blah. And you know, we start singing the song. Give me that old time religion. Give me that old time religion. Give me that old time religion. It's good enough for me. And we're swinging it. All of a sudden we stop and say, now hold on a minute. We're going to sing this next verse, and this verse goes, makes me love everybody. And when we sing makes me love everybody, I want everybody over here to come over here and hug everybody over here, and everybody over here to stand up and go hug everybody. I want you to hug as many people as you can. So we start singing. Now this professional killer is being accosted by all kinds of people. They're all hugging on him. Hey, man, good to see you. God bless you. Hey, praise the Lord. Man, everybody's hugging on him. He's getting more hugged than he's been hugged since he was a baby, I'm sure. His mama probably never hugged him, you know. And he's like, he's got to fake it, right? He's got to hug everybody. And then we all sat down, and then people got up and started sharing testimonies. You remember testimony services? You know, people get up and talk about how God had changed their lives. And we had some pretty dramatic stories of people who were drug addicts, or, you know, whatever their deal was, and how when they asked Christ into their lives, how God totally changed their lives around. And they got tears running down their cheeks while smiling at the same time. You know, kind of like the weather in Phoenix. And sunny yet raining, I don't understand. But you know, it was so powerful, and he's just listening to all these people. Then finally, the evangelist comes out. And by this time, the guy is frozen. He cannot act. He's in a state of shock. And this evangelist starts preaching what all evangelists preach. You know, the fact that God loves us. He loved us so much, he sent Jesus to take our punishment. Jesus took what he did not deserve so we could get what we do not deserve, which is forgiveness. And when he got to the end, he did one of these Billy Graham things where he said, if you want to ask Christ in your life, I want you to walk down to the aisle, and we're going to pray for you. About 100, 150 people stood up and came down to the front. And in the midst of this group of people came this professional killer. And when he got up there, he fell on his knees. And he started crying. He says, I can't do it. I can't do it. I just can't do it. And the counselor next to him said, sure you can. You can do it. I want you to know, God wants you to do it. And he's going, no, you don't understand. You don't understand.
understand. And he pulls out the loaded weapon and hands it to him. And that's how we found out the story of how this guy came to kill somebody, but instead had his life dramatically impacted by the love of God. Now, you may not hire a professional killer, at least I hope you don't. But the truth is, when somebody hurts us, we want them to pay. So our version of making them pay is we get bitter and unforgiving. I'm not going to forgive you. The problem is the only one it hurts is the person who doesn't want to forgive. Unforgiveness is like taking poison hoping the other guy will die. And to be truthful with you, I've never understood how so many people have a problem in this area, particularly Christians. You know, if you're not much of a churchgoer, take a nap for a minute. But you Christians, you know, this is Christianity 101. This is as foundational as it gets. Jesus taught us basically this: if you don't forgive people, God won't forgive you. It's that simple.
So I don't believe that.
No, you'll get an exception because you're so cute. You're kidding yourself. Forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us. Forgive us as we forgive. God will not forgive you if you don't forgive people. This is non-negotiable. You need to hear it, but a lot of people, they struggle with it. They go, I don't, it's so hard, because you don't understand what forgiveness is. Forgiveness is an act. It is not an emotion. Has nothing to do with your emotions. You might feel the pain of what that person did to you till the day you die. Has nothing to do with forgiveness. It's not an erasure of your memory. You might remember what that person did to you till the day that you die. And let me ask you a question. Do you think God has Alzheimer's? Do you think he can't remember what you did? Do you think he looks at you and goes, something about you really ticks me off? Like, can't remember what it was. He throws in what he calls the sea of his forgetfulness. He doesn't have Alzheimer's. He just will never bring it up again. He'll never mention it again. That's what forgiveness is. Forgiveness is this. It's when you say, I forgive you. I will never use it against you in the future. I will never speak of it again to you or to anyone else. Forgiveness has more to do with your tongue than your head or your heart. If you're still talking it through, you haven't forgiven. You need to hush. You need to let it go. That's forgiveness. All right, what'd you decide? Which lady? God steps in and says, forget about it. I made my decision. Oh, yeah, really, which one? He says, number 5. Whoa, 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 wait a minute. God. Do you know who this is? This is Bathsheba. The only reason this woman is there is because of lust, lying, adultery, and murder. There's nothing holy about it. There's nothing righteous about it. It was never in God's plan. God never intended it. But Bathsheba becomes the mother of Solomon and the great-great-great-great-grandmother of the Lord Jesus Christ himself. You could make the argument, had it not been for lust, lying, adultery, and murder, Solomon would have never been born. You could make the argument, had it not been for lust, lying, adultery, and murder, the Lord Jesus would have never been born. Oh, well, praise the Lord that happened then. See, you're not making any sense. I know this was hard even for the writers of the Bible. If you read Matthew, the first chapter, where it says so-and-so was the father of so-and-so was the father of so-and-so, that whole list, he mentions 3 women by name, but when it comes to her, he doesn't even mention her name. If you read it, it'll say, the wife of Uriah. Uriah was the man David killed to get her. Wouldn't even mention her name. Why? Because it makes no sense. It makes no sense. How can this possibly be? How could the Son of God's lineage depend on a woman who was only there because of lust, lying, adultery, and murder? I'll tell you how. Because God's love is so powerful, he can take your biggest mistake and turn it into something so beautiful, it won't make sense to anybody. That is the power
of the reset button. I want all the couples to stand together. If you're not here with your husband or wife, or if you're not married, you can stay seated. But if you're here with your husband or wife, I want you to stand up. And I want you to turn to each other. But you said we weren't going to do anything emotional. It'll be all right. I'll even tell you what to say. Right, all the guys looking at the girls, I want you to repeat this. Well, I don't need to repeat it. Well, then just say it for the rest of us poor slobs who do. Looking at your wife, guys, I want you to say this. Honey, I'm sorry for not always being the kind of husband I should be to you. For not giving you the attention you deserve. For being too caught up in my own world instead of our world. For demanding too much and not giving enough. For not loving you like I should. Please forgive me. With your love, your support, your patience, and your prayers, I will strive to be the kind of husband God wants me to be. Now, girls, your turn. Looking at him, I want you to say this. Say, honey, I'm sorry for not always being the kind of wife I should be to you. For not always appreciating all that you do. For not always being the lover I know you need. For not always believing in your hopes and dreams. For not loving you like I should. Please forgive me. With your love, your support, your patience, and your prayers, I will strive to be the kind of wife God wants me to be. Now I want you to press the reset button. The way this works is to reach over and you plant one right on her. Give her a kiss. All right, hug the girl. Hug the girl. Hug the girl. Hug the girl. Doesn't that feel good? I don't understand. He made us laugh. And then he made us cry. And I'm so confused. You can be seated. I want to thank you guys for being here with us this weekend and sharing this moment with us. And we believe that millions of people's lives are going to be impacted by the information that we share this weekend as this thing is broadcast on television around the world and on DVDs and stuff like that. There's some powerful information that we've shared this weekend that a whole lot of people need to hear. Just basic, simple stuff that can transform lives. You have been wonderful. You have tolerated our making you move here, there, and the other, and through all the sessions and stuff. You have been wonderful. I so appreciate you. God bless all of you. Thank you so much. Bye. Amen. God bless you guys.